Chapter 2477. Some suspected that Ling Xiao was the culprit behind the deaths of the geniuses. However, the Dark Ones didn't think it was possible. Ling Xiao should be concentrating on comprehending the shadow martial arts. Why would he suddenly come out to kill people? First of all, there was no evidence. Second of all, it didn't make any sense. In any case, no one would have expected Ling Xiao to use only 10 minutes to comprehend the complete version of the dark shadow martial arts. Furthermore, he used about 10 days to cultivate the two secret techniques to the Perfection Realm and Perfection Realm. Therefore, the matter was left unsettled. During these few assassinations, Ling Xiao had also perfectly honed his martial techniques. This allowed his originally unstable cultivation level to become even more stable. It was killing two birds with one stone. The next thing he needed to do was to go to the 5th floor of the ghost prison and meet up with Ling Yan. After making up his mind, Ling Xiao applied to No Light in the Night for permission to go to the 5th floor of the ghost prison. His excuse was that he couldn't learn the shadow arts outside and needed to try it out in the special environment of the 5th floor. No Light in the Night didn't object. The Dark Ones wanted to object, but they had no reason to. Therefore, they could only agree. Brother Ling Xiao, the elder wants to see you. Just as Ling Xiao walked out of No Light in the Night's residence, a man appeared in front of Ling Xiao and greeted him respectfully. Ling Xiao's reputation in the Dark Ones had skyrocketed. He was the 4th genius after Dark King, and Dark King. Therefore, when the others saw him, they had to address him as senior brother, and they had to be extremely respectful. Elder, why are you looking for me? Ling Xiao was puzzled. The elder's nose was quite sharp. He had only come to No Light in the Night's residence, and he had already been discovered. I don't know. The man shook his head. Fine, lead the way. Ling Xiao didn't want to offend the elder yet. If the elder wanted to see him, he would have to go. The peak of the Dark Mountain Range was a beautiful place. It was also the best place to cultivate. Everyone knew that only the clan elders and the 3 geniuses of the clan had the qualifications to go there. Ling Xiao was heading to the peak of the Dark Mountain Range. Because of how precious the place was, he didn't suspect anything. He followed the martial artist up the mountain. However, just as he was about to reach the peak, Ling Xiao sensed something was wrong. He grabbed the martial artist's neck and asked coldly, Tell me, is it really the elder who wants to see me? His eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent, as if he would twist this fellow's head off at the slightest disagreement. It's really the elder. That cultivator was so scared that his whole body trembled as he hurriedly said, Crack! The martial artist's arm broke. His scream echoed through the mountain range. Ling Xiao said coldly, I'm not going to waste my breath on you. This time it's your arm that's broken. Next time it'll be your neck. The martial artist was terrified by Ling Xiao's ferocious methods. It's not the elder. It's the young master of Dark Gold. Dark Gold? What does he want from me? Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment, but he knew that the other party was telling the truth this time. I don't know. The Dark Gold young master only said that he wanted to lure you to the top of the Dark Mountain Range. He didn't say anything else. The martial artist hurriedly explained. Humph, he wants to kill me? Ling Xiao snorted. He knew it was a trap, but his interest was piqued. This Dark Gold was Dark Flower's son. This pair of mother and son were not good people. He wanted to find an excuse to deal with this guy, but he didn't expect him to deliver himself to his doorstep. Ling Xiao's cultivation was close to a breakthrough. This Dark Gold might be the key to his breakthrough this time. Wouldn't it be a pity if he didn't go? With a sneer, he casually threw the cultivator down the cliff. Whether you live or not will depend on your luck. I'll be merciful today. Then he walked straight to the peak of the Dark Mountain Range. No one knew he had mastered the first 2 moves of the Dark Shadow martial arts. No one knew he had a divine grade spirit weapon in his hand, the Black Immortal Sword. The grade of this sword wasn't inferior to the sword race's treasures. If he took it out, it would definitely surprise them. At the peak of the mountain range, Dark Gold was hiding in the dark, waiting for Ling Xiao's arrival. Dozens of death warriors were lying in ambush around him. They were all trained by Dark Flower. In the Dark Tribe, every elder would train a group of death warriors for themselves. They would be useful at critical times. These death warriors were all at the pinnacle of the 4th level of hell. Although they were only ordinary martial artists, their cultivation was equivalent to the peak of the 3rd level of hell. Ling Xiao had defeated Infatian, but he was only at this level. He had no chance of winning against dozens of people. Moreover, Dark Gold was at the peak of the 4th level of hell. What could Ling Xiao use to fight them? There was another person at the peak of the mountain range. This face was unfamiliar. In any case, Ling Xiao had never seen it before. It was a woman, and she was extremely beautiful. She gave off the feeling of an otherworldly fairy. She was the woman young Master Lin Yuetian liked. Her name was Qingling. Qingling's cultivation wasn't very strong, but she was at the late stage of the 4th level of hell. She was close to Dark Gold. Qingling stood at the peak, looking at the scenery around her. She danced elegantly, causing the people lying in ambush to be tempted. Young Master Dark Gold, this woman is too tempting. Someone next to him said, drooling, "You want to touch her? Think about the young master. She is his woman. Even if her cultivation isn't very strong, you can't touch her. Even I don't dare." Dark Gold sneered. He was also lustful and liked beautiful women. However, he didn't dare to have any greed for Qingling. The young master was too scary. He couldn't afford to offend him. Hearing Dark Gold's words, the people lying in ambush calmed down. They felt a chill in their hearts. They weren't lustful anymore. In the past, someone who had looked at Qingling was chopped up and fed to the dogs by the young master. He was a very domineering person. They waited quietly. A figure finally walked up from the bottom of the mountain, causing Dark Gold to reveal a cold smile. Ling Xiao was here. He had fallen into his trap. If that was the case, this brat would have no chance of surviving. Dark Gold sneered in his heart, but he wasn't in a hurry. He was still waiting for the most critical moment. When Ling Xiao saw that beautiful girl, he could not help being stunned for a moment. There was no shortage of beauties in the mystic world. The woman in front of him was as beautiful as the Moon Maiden. Chapter 2478. At that moment, Ling Xiao even mistakenly thought that he had seen the woman of his dreams. But at that moment his heart turned cold. No matter how perfect a woman's disguise was, it couldn't hide the ugliness in her heart. From this woman's almost perfect appearance, he could see a sinister black aura. Others might not be able to see it, but Ling Xiao had the Tai Chi eye. In an instant, he lost all interest in this woman. "Where is Dark Gold?" he asked calmly. He believed that the martial artist who led him here wasn't lying, and that this woman was with Dark Gold. "I've heard that young Master Ling doesn't get close to women, and that you're mighty. Why don't you have a few drinks with Qingling and have a chat? Why do you want to talk about Dark Gold?" Qingling said with a smile, "Of course." Ling Xiao laughed inwardly. Let's see what this vixen wants to do. Although he didn't know what method Dark Gold had used to hide from his soul search, he didn't know what method Dark Gold had used. But so what? He wanted to see what these bastards were going to do to him. He was also skilled and bold. He knew that others were plotting against him, but he didn't care at all. He sat down at the stone table, picked up the wine on the table, and drank it. The wine tasted good. Ling Xiao didn't like to drink, but this wine really made him forget to leave. "Young master, drink. Qingling will dance for you." Qingling smiled and started to dance without waiting for Ling Xiao's reply. At that moment, Ling Xiao felt that he couldn't move, as if he was trapped by something. "What's going on?" Ling Xiao asked nervously. "Hee, sorry, young master Ling." Dark night, formless recent actions angered the young master. So he ordered Qingling to work with dark gold to kill you. Qingling chuckled. Young master, you haven't heard of a secret technique called intoxication, right? Qingling knows it. As long as you're within 10 meters of me, you won't be able to escape. Everything you do will be under my control. What are you trying to do? Ling Xiao asked with a frown. Young master will find out soon. Qingling smiled seductively, and then Ling Xiao felt himself pouncing on her involuntarily. Rip! The sound of clothes tearing could be heard. It was Qingling who had controlled Ling Xiao to tear his clothes. Then he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Help!" At this moment, Dark Gold and the others, who had been hiding in the dark, finally jumped out. How dare you, Ling Xiao? How dare you flirt with a young sect master's woman? You must be tired of living. Dark Gold looked at Ling Xiao righteously, like a cat toying with a mouse. Dark Gold, young master, you came at the right time. This lecher actually wants to do that to me. Qingling hurriedly ran behind Dark Gold and pretended to be frightened. At this moment, Ling Xiao understood everything. Although this kind of framing was very old-fashioned, it was very effective, because no matter whether Ling Xiao did it or not, as long as others believed it, he could not escape punishment. It was really insidious. Little girl, do you know the consequences of framing me? Ling Xiao said coldly. Hee, Qingling is so scared. I'm afraid that Dark Gold young master will take you directly to the patriarch to be punished. Your life is over. Qingling chuckled, looking very pleased with herself. Of course, you have another choice, and that is to agree to fight with me in the arena of life and death. As long as you win, you can escape punishment. Dark Gold added. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao in front of everyone. Only then would he be able to vent the resentment in his heart. Only then could he attack Dark Gold young master. If he killed Ling Xiao here, it would be letting this brat off too lightly. Are you serious? Ling Xiao asked. Of course I'm serious. Don't tell me that you want to say that your cultivation is not as good as mine. Dark Gold sneered. You're just a prisoner now. You have no right to refuse. Well, I agree to fight with you in the arena of life and death. The corner of Ling Xiao's mouth raised into a sneer. Since Dark Gold was courting death, he could test the power of the new black immortal sword. You agree? Dark Gold was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but laugh. It seems that you have no other choice. Miss Qingling, let him go. I will avenge you, in the arena of life and death. They designed such a trap to force Ling Xiao to agree to fight with him in the arena of life and death. But why did they waste time like this? If they directly asked Ling Xiao would certainly agree. Dark Gold young master, you should be careful. Didn't Ling Xiao get the dark shadow gourd? It's been 10 days. Aren't you afraid that he will learn something? Qingling said with a smile. She had no enmity with Ling Xiao. She was just following the orders of Lin Yutian. She didn't have any opinion on how Dark Gold killed Ling Xiao. She just casually reminded him, Don't worry, Miss Qingling. My sister and Ming took 18 days to learn the Dark Shadow Gourd. Hai Wuzuan took 20 days. I didn't learn it at all. So, I chose another martial art from the Dark Shadow Gourd. Do you think Ling Xiao has the ability to do that? Dark Gold said with disdain. In his opinion, now was the best chance to deal with Ling Xiao. Once he missed this opportunity, it wouldn't be so easy to deal with Ling Xiao in the future. Take him to the arena of life and death. Dark Gold looked coldly at Ling Xiao and said to the people beside him, he brought so many people because he was afraid that Ling Xiao would resist. He didn't expect Qingling's enchantment to be so powerful that Ling Xiao would fall for it. Now it would save him a lot of trouble. No need, I can walk on my own. Ling Xiao suddenly stood up from the ground and looked at Qingling contemptuously. Don't think that just because you're the young sect master's woman, I won't dare to kill you. What bullshit infatuation. In front of this young master, it's not even worth mentioning. If something like this happens again, I'll definitely take your life, you filthy woman with a beautiful appearance, but an ugly heart. You dare to scold me? Qingling hated it when people called her ugly. She suddenly used bewitching heart again, wanting to control Ling Xiao. However, a wolf shadow flashed and Ling Xiao pounced on her. If dark gold didn't help, Qingling would have been miserable. Your 1,000-mile wolf might be arrogant in Fei Tian's place, but it's not worth mentioning in front of me. Save your strength for the arena. Dark Gold looked at Ling Xiao with disdain. After defeating Ling Xiao this time, he was more confident in the arena. He didn't know that Ling Xiao was deliberately confusing him. At this time, Qingling was a little confused. Although her cultivation was not weak, she had put all her effort into cultivating this intoxication. Chapter 2479. Why? Why did you ignore my enchantment? Qingling was terrified and flustered. This was because she was most proficient in the intoxication mystic technique. Once it was broken, she would not even be able to defeat a martial artist at the 3rd level of hell in the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm. She didn't bother learning other martial arts because enchantment was more than enough to deal with her enemies. Lin Yuetian was the only one she had ever feared. That was why she had given herself to him. She believed that no one would ever dare to bully her again. However, Ling Xiao had ignored her enchantment. How could she remain calm? Calm down? Miss Qingling, there's no need to worry. Ling Xiao won't live past today. Dark Gold comforted her. He'll die in the arena of life and death. Fine. If you kill him, I'll fulfill one of your wishes. Qingling looked at Dark Gold. She was confident that Dark Gold could kill Ling Xiao. She couldn't see any reason for him to fail. Listen up, Ling Xiao. We'll fight in the Dark Clan's arena of life and death in an hour. I don't care who you call to cheer you on. If you don't make it in the hour, I'll tell the young lord about you flirting with Miss Qingling. You'll die a horrible death and bring shame to your lord Yi. Dark Gold was worried that Ling Xiao wouldn't make it. He thought he could threaten Ling Xiao. In truth, Ling Xiao had no intention of running away. Both sides returned to their respective residences. In order to humiliate Ling Xiao, Dark Gold notified all the Dark Clan members he could. If not for the fact that he wanted to defeat Ling Xiao in front of everyone, Dark Gold wouldn't have gone to such lengths. Within an hour, the Dark Clan's arena of life and death was surrounded by a large crowd of warriors. Almost every Dark Clan member was present. Ling Xiao was a famous figure, and Dark Gold was one of the 3 great geniuses of the Dark Clan. A fight between the two would be very influential. The arena of life and death wasn't a fixed arena. As long as a life and death contract was signed, then a one-on-one duel could be called a life and death duel. The arena where they fought could be called the arena of life and death. The surroundings of the arena were already filled with people according to their status. Although there were no seats, these cultivators did not mind. The Dark One's elders, chief elders, and elders were all present. This elder was truly curious. With Ling Xiao's cultivation, how could he dare to engage in a life and death battle with Dark Gold? As the leader of the Dark Ones, Nightwalker was there as well. When he heard the news, he was ecstatic. His son and Fei Tian had been crippled. From now on, he would not be able to improve his cultivation. At the time of the battle, he had attacked out of anger, but was stopped by Dark Knight Formless. Today, he wanted to see Ling Xiao get killed even more. Hidden Flower naturally wouldn't miss this good show. She knew the whole story. She knew that Ling Xiao had no choice but to agree to this life and death duel. So she felt very satisfied. The 2 geniuses, and Ming and Hai Wuzuan, naturally wouldn't be absent from this life and death battle. Sister Ming, what do you think? Hai Wuzuan looked at Ming and asked. As a genius of the Dark Ones, Hai Wuzuan loved Ming deeply. Perhaps it was because he wanted to follow in Ming's footsteps that his strength was always close to Ming's. He didn't care about Ling Xiao, but Jean was Ming's cousin, so he still had to care about him. It's just a battle of strength. What's there to worry about? Do you think in Ming is that idiot in Fei Tian? And Ming looked at Ling Xiao with disdain, then sneered, I don't know why this idiot agreed to come to this life and death battle with my cousin, but he's dead for sure. Great minds think alike. Hai Wuzuan nodded in agreement. Second brother, is your disciple's brain okay? A life and death battle with a Ming? Is he courting death? Or did he become stupid from comprehending the dark shadow martial arts? No Light in the Night angrily walked to Dark Night Formless and asked. He couldn't believe that Ling Xiao would be so stupid to agree to this life and death battle. There was clearly a great disparity in strength, but he insisted on fighting. If there wasn't something wrong with his brain, then the other party had something on him. He didn't believe that Ling Xiao had any chance of winning. Don't ask me. I don't know why either. Dark Night Formless sighed. He was still confused as to why Ling Xiao would suddenly agree to a life and death battle with a Ming. However, he was different from No Light in the Night. He believed that his disciple wouldn't act recklessly. Since he chose this battle, he must be confident. Hee, Dark Night Formless. This is a life and death battle. I believe you won't interfere today, right? According to the rules, even if one side dies in a life and death battle, the other side doesn't have to take any responsibility. You've always protected Ling Xiao. You won't break this rule today, right? Hidden Flower had always wanted to mock Dark Night Formless because she had been defeated by him too many times. Now that she finally had the chance, how could she not speak up? Before Dark Night Formless could speak, a domineering figure suddenly tore open the void and walked out. He was wearing a suit of black armor and looked extremely mighty and domineering. Greetings, young sect master. Everyone saw that this young man, who wasn't even 20 years old, was actually the most outstanding genius of 8 Immortal Mountain. Young sect master Lin Yuetian. They hurriedly bowed. Elder Hidden Flower, don't worry. This young sect master will preside over this life and death battle today. Let's see who dares to interfere. When Lin Yuetian said this, he intentionally glanced at Dark Night Formless, as if warning him. With young sect master in charge, Hidden Flower can rest assured. Hidden Flower said excitedly, Humph. I'm just afraid that when Ming is defeated, there will be people who will frantically try to stop Ling Xiao from killing him. Dark Night Formless snorted. You can rest assured about this. This young sect master swears on this face that if anyone dares to interfere, this young sect master will personally stop them. Lin Yuetian said indifferently. He was just casually saying this because he couldn't see how Ling Xiao could defeat Ming. Sigh, second brother, I'm afraid that Ling Xiao is really in trouble this time. No Light in the Night sighed and said, This child should really suffer more setbacks. You usually spoil him too much. That's why he did such a stupid thing today. Dark Night Formless didn't say anything. He firmly believed in his own opinion. Ling Xiao never did things without a goal in mind. Stop arguing. This young sect master will personally preside over today's life and death battle. Are the two of you ready? Lin Yuetian looked at the two people standing on both sides of the stage and asked loudly. Yes, the two of them said almost at the same time, and Ming had already thought about how to deal with Ling Xiao. Chapter 2480. Dark Gold had once used the Shadow Black Gourd to comprehend a top-tier Jade grade martial skill. Although he didn't comprehend a top-tier Jade grade martial skill, it was already the strongest martial skill in the entire Dark Clan. On top of that, his cultivation was much stronger than Ling Xiao's. Even if he didn't use the two martial skills, he could still easily kill Ling Xiao. Therefore, he felt that this battle was under his control. He could toy with Ling Xiao like a cat toying with a mouse. He could deal a double blow to Ling Xiao, both physically and mentally. In the end, he would kill this guy. He would let Ling Xiao die in pain and suffering. Therefore, he was anxious to start the battle. As for Ling Xiao, he urgently needed to fight Dark Gold to help him break through his cultivation. Moreover, the The shadow martial skills needed to be adjusted and modified in the real battle. Therefore, he wanted to start the battle as soon as possible. Elder, do you think Ling Xiao has already comprehended the shadow martial skills? Is that why he dares to be so presumptuous? An old martial artist asked. Ha ha ha, how is that possible? You should know that it took Dark Gold 19 days to comprehend the shadow martial skills. Even the fastest one, Dark Knight, took 17 days. It's only been 10 days. Do you think Ling Xiao can comprehend it? Even if he did, he's just a beginner. The shadow martial skills won't have much combat power. He won't be able to help at all. The elder thought that the question was ridiculous, but he still answered it. Ling Xiao heard the discussion below. A disdainful sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. He really didn't know what kind of expression the people who were mocking him would have if he used the shadow martial arts. It would be very interesting. Ling Xiao, I won't bully you today. Since your cultivation is weak, I'll let you have 3 moves. After 3 moves, it will be your death. Dark Gold wanted to show that he was fair. He wanted to defeat Ling Xiao without looking like he was bullying the weak. That was why he had decided to let Zhang Xian make 3 moves first. Dark Gold, I won't bully you. Today, I'll let you have 3 moves. After that, it won't be too late to kill you. Who would have thought that Ling Xiao would actually say almost the same thing? Stinking brat, you don't know what's good for you. Looks like you're really courting death. Dark Gold was instantly enraged. Dark Gold, young master, why bother with someone with a mental problem? Since he gave you 3 moves, then let him have his way. Below the stage, someone shouted loudly. That's right. There's no point in getting angry with that kind of idiot. Someone else said. Obviously, this was Dark Gold's home ground. Almost 90% of the people supported Dark Gold. Even those who had been bullied and humiliated by Dark Gold were supporting Dark Gold. These guys didn't want to see Ling Xiao win. Because if Ling Xiao won, wouldn't that mean that they were inferior to trash like Ling Xiao? They could be crushed and humiliated by Dark Gold, but they couldn't be surpassed by Ling Xiao. All right, since you want to let me have 3 moves, then I won't hold back. I'll kill you in 1 move. Dark Gold sneered. Since his opponent was courting death, there was no need for him to hold back. With a wave of his hand, a long black sword appeared in his hand. Ling Xiao had seen this sword before. It was the Black Qilin sword in Fei Tian's hand, an immortal grade spiritual weapon, and Fei Tian was crippled. So Dark Gold got his hands on this sword. He didn't care about the difference in strength between him and Ling Xiao. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao in 1 move today. If he couldn't kill him, then he would be embarrassed. Black Qilin Strangle 9 snakes. This was a move that Fei Tian had used before. However, when Dark Gold used it, its power was 10 times more terrifying. 9 sword shadows turned into 9 black snakes and attacked Ling Xiao. Almost everyone thought that Ling Xiao would choose to use the 1,000-mile wolf to dodge the attack. This was because Ling Xiao had fought Fei Tian in this way before. However, to their surprise, Ling Xiao didn't do that at all. With a shake of the long sword in his hand, Ling Xiao didn't retreat or dodge. Instead, he went up to meet the attack. His body instantly entered the black-striped, flying tiger transformation state. This was his most powerful beast soul transformation. He didn't dare to be careless when dealing with Dark Gold. Otherwise, he might get himself killed if he wasn't careful. Is that a new transformation? I've never heard of a beast warrior having so many transformations. This kid really makes my eyes light up every time he fights. But even if it's a new transformation, he can't win. That's right. Dark Gold's cultivation is too strong. The gap between them is too big. While the crowd was discussing, Ling Xiao had already stabbed out with his sword. Eastern Purple Chi Sword, 1 sword to the west. Transformative state. The Western demise, which had reached the transformative state, was extremely powerful. The giant purple sword fiercely collided with the 9 black snake shadows. Then there was a terrible explosion. Ling Xiao was sent flying. He somersaulted a few times in the arena and almost fell off. Dark Gold, on the other hand, was unscathed. Even so, he wasn't happy at all. He didn't die. He was very surprised. When Ling Xiao faced in Fate Yen, he chose to use Wolf Walk 1,000 miles to avoid Black Qilin's strangulation. However, when facing him, he chose to meet force with force. Was he looking down on him? It's one move. Ling Xiao stood up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and looked at Dark Gold coldly. He could feel that the power in his body had torn a small hole in the barrier of breakthrough under the external impact. One more time, and he might be able to break through. Continue. Ling Xiao hooked his finger at Dark Gold and said, "Don't be like a girl. Your attack is too weak. It's even worse than that trash in Fate Yen." Provocation. This was definitely a provocation. Dark Gold's face darkened. At this moment, the outside of the arena suddenly quieted down. No one had expected Ling Xiao to be able to stand up after taking Dark Gold's attack as if nothing had happened. This was simply impossible. Die. Black Qilin strangulation. 24 snakes. Dark Gold felt like he was going crazy. He was so angry that he formed 24 terrifying black snake shadows. His internal energy was much stronger than in Fate Yen's anyway. Even if he only had 24 snake shadows, he could still control them. Ling Xiao, don't do anything stupid. Your Wolf Walk 1,000 miles is not for show. This time, even Yi Wuxing was a little worried. He didn't understand why Ling Xiao was so determined to take the attack head-on. However, Ling Xiao was not an obedient child. The black-striped flying tiger's body began to crackle with lightning. Ling Xiao threw away the broken sword in his hand and picked up another one. Eastern Purple Qi Sword. One strike destruction. Transcendent state. Dark Gold's attack was more powerful, and so was Ling Xiao's. Chapter 2481. Both sides clashed once again. Ling Xiao was sent flying again. He grabbed onto the pillar of the arena and flew back. However, he spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. Still not dead. Although Ling Xiao looked a little embarrassed, but he still stood there steadily. Although there were many wounds on his body from the sword qi, he was still not dead. Impossible. Dark Gold felt like he was going crazy. Could it be that he couldn't win even if his opponent gave him 3 moves? Nothing is impossible. It's not that I'm too strong, it's that you're too weak. Ling Xiao laughed. He was very happy because he finally had a breakthrough in his cultivation after risking his life twice. He was at the early stage of the 4th level of the Yin realm. With this cultivation, if he used the Black Immortal Sword, Dark Gold wouldn't have a problem. However, he was a man of his words. He would give his opponent another move. This would also torture his opponent's little heart. It's been 2 moves. You still have one last chance to win. Ling Xiao looked at Dark Gold indifferently and said with a smile, "Humph, why are you so arrogant? You're just better at taking hits than the average person. Since that's the case, I can only use the martial arts I comprehended from the Shadow Black Gourd to deal with you. I'll let you know what despair is." Dark Gold couldn't stand being mocked. If he couldn't kill Ling Xiao in 3 moves, he would definitely become a laughingstock. That was something he couldn't accept no matter what. Therefore, he had to kill Ling Xiao in this last move. In order to kill Ling Xiao, he even used the Shadow Witcher. Except for his right hand, his entire body entered the Shadow Witcher state. Let's see if you can survive this. Shadow Martial Arts, the first move, Sword Cry Een Mountain. They both use swords. Therefore, the Shadow Martial Arts that Dark Gold comprehended were exactly the same as Ling Xiao's. Of course, he only comprehended 1 move. Compared to Ling Xiao's 6 moves, it was like heaven and earth. Ling Xiao, be careful. Don't be careless. It should be said that an ordinary high-grade jade grade martial skill would not be able to compare to the 2 forms of the Dark Shadow martial skill. Even in the highest grade, these 2 styles were the most powerful. With Dark Gold using Shadow Witchers, Dark Knight Formless could no longer remain calm. However, Ling Xiao just looked at Dark Gold indifferently. He was calm and even a little indifferent. The same common grade spiritual artifact longsword and the same second style of the Eastern purple chi sword, Sword Annihilation. However, the terrifying power that suddenly erupted shocked everyone to the core. Early stage of the 4th level of Hell in Yinyang Realm? When did this guy break through? The Dark Elder's eyes flashed with a terrifying light. The Ling Xiao in front of him had once again given him a huge shock. Boom! The roar was heard under everyone's shocked gazes. This time, Ling Xiao only took one step back. Dark Gold took half a step back. Ling Xiao's Dark Gold attacks were already at their strongest, but Ling Xiao was even more relaxed now. Is this the Dark Shadow Martial skill you've comprehended? You're a disgrace to the Dark Shadow Martial skill. Ling Xiao threw away the broken longsword in his hand in disdain. He looked at the stunned Dark Gold and said, "It's been 3 moves and I haven't attacked. I've only been defending. Now it's time for me to send you on your way. I'll let you see what a true Dark Shadow Martial skill is." What? Ling Xiao's words were even more shocking than the breakthrough in his cultivation. Impossible. It's only been 10 days. How can he comprehend the Dark Shadow Martial skill? Dark Knight and Dark Knight Formless could not believe this. However, whether they believed it or not, Ling Xiao slowly took out a sword from his storage ring. It was a black sword. It was as shiny as the black Qilin sword. However, it was filled with an aura that was even more terrifying than the black Qilin sword. This was the Black Immortal Sword formed by the Dark Immortal Sword painting, a divine grade spiritual artifact sword. Originally, Ling Xiao did not plan to use this sword. However, Dark Gold was not weak. If he did not use the Black Immortal Sword, it would be difficult for him to defeat his opponent. One had to know that Dark Gold had not completely transformed into a Dark Shadow Demon Hunter. If he did, Ling Xiao would not be able to defeat his opponent with just a normal mortal grade spiritual artifact longsword. He held the Black Immortal Sword in his hand and pointed the tip at Dark Gold. A dark aura was released from the tip of the sword. It was as if everyone saw a black sword immortal. His whole body was covered in a black robe, and he released a powerful sword intent. This sword will, with Ling Xiao as the center, actually burst out. Divine grade spiritual artifact. Nightwalker shouted in horror. No one would have thought that Ling Xiao actually still had such a terrifying trump card. Everyone was stunned. That was a divine grade spiritual artifact. It was on the same level as the 8 great families' clan treasures. What is he trying to do? Could it be that he really comprehended the Dark Shadow Martial skill in 10 days? Dark Flower felt her body trembling. The scene in front of her was so shocking that her brain could not think. She was completely stunned. If Ling Xiao was able to comprehend the shadow martial arts within 10 days and cultivate it to the point where he could fight, then he would definitely be able to do so. Then wouldn't Ling Xiao's talent be that of a legendary divine grade genius? Even on the Black Tortoise continent, such a genius had never appeared. Impossible, absolutely impossible. That was impossible. He must be bluffing, he must be. No matter how crazy Dark Flower was, no matter how much those people did not dare to believe it, the Black Immortal Sword in Ling Xiao's hand had already begun to condense a sinister sword intent. A blurry silhouette of a mountain loomed in the void. This was the special effect of Sword Chime Een Mountain. This time, Dark Flower was in complete despair. Dark Knight and Dark Knight Wuzuan felt their hearts trembling violently. One of them used 19 days and the other 20 days to comprehend the Dark Shadow Martial skills, 3 forms and 2 forms respectively. This Ling Xiao was actually so much stronger than them, and this Ling Xiao did not even have the Dark Clan's bloodline. How did he do it? Ling Xiao did not care about those people's surprised or jealous gazes. He was only preparing his move. His opponent, Dark Gold, had no choice but to give his consciousness to the Dark Shadow Witcher. Because he did not have the confidence to block Ling Xiao's attack with his own strength. The moment the dark shadow witcher appeared, Ling Xiao's sword light had already arrived. It was like a roaring black tiger that had come back to life. It ferociously attacked Dark Gold. The black immortal sword let out a shocking sound, like a ghost's wail and a wolf's howl from the underworld. It caused people's fighting spirit to decrease and their hearts to be filled with fear. Dark Shadow Martial Skill. First Form, Sword Chime Een Mountain. Proficient. Ling Xiao did not completely reveal what he had learned, because at this moment, Dark Gold had given his consciousness to the Dark Shadow Witcher. But the Dark Shadow Witcher was also intimidated by the Black Immortal Sword's terrifying sword intent. Chapter 2482. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the roaring black tiger pounced on Dark Gold. Although the tiger was formed from sword energy, it looked so real and lifelike. Shadow Martial Arts First Style. Sword Chime Een Mountain. Master. The explosive sword move exploded in the void. A terrifying aura bloomed. At that moment, Dark Gold's soul, hidden deep within the Shadow Witcher demon, trembled violently. He saw death. He saw despair. That invincible sharpness, he actually clearly felt that it was impossible for him to resist. Not even the Shadow Witcher demon. No, I don't want to die. I can't die at the hands of such a piece of trash. Being killed by Ling Xiao was something he had never thought of in his life. He had lost the courage to fight. Even the Shadow Witcher couldn't make any moves to attack out of fear. Young Sect Master, quickly stop this battle. Nightwalker yelled, and Fate Yin had been crippled. If Dark Gold was killed as well, then the only geniuses he had nurtured would be in Ming and Hai Wuzuan. Moreover, and Fei Tian and Dark Gold were related to him by blood. He could not allow Ling Xiao to kill them. Lin Yuetian was stunned. Soon after, his expression became extremely gloomy. He looked at Nightwalker coldly. A strange look flashed across his eyes. Nightwalker immediately understood what he meant. Lin Yuetian wanted to stop Ling Xiao, but he did not want others to think that he did not keep his word. He wanted Nightwalker to do it himself. As Nightwalker thought of this, he rushed into the arena of life and death. He did not care whether it was fair or not, and Fate Yin had been crippled. He could not let anything happen to Dark Gold. Hai Wuzuan tried to stop him, but he was stopped by the Dark Tribe Elder. Wuzuan, let's forgive and forget. We admit that Dark Gold has lost. Let's leave it at that. He did not want Dark Gold to die. Although he couldn't accept such an outcome, he couldn't do anything other than save Dark Gold's life in front of so many people. At that moment, Nightwalker had already reached the arena of life and death. An expert was an expert, after all. He was able to block Ling Xiao's terrifying attack with just one hand. At the same time, Dark Gold had recovered from his Shadow Witcher state. Kneeling on the arena, he seemed to have lost his mind and was scared silly. Even below, there was a pool of wet traces. Nightwalker sighed. Even if he could save Dark Gold's life, Dark Gold would be terrified of Ling Xiao in the future. He would never be a threat to Ling Xiao again. You bastard! How could you be so ruthless? You're also a member of the Dark Clan, but you didn't show any mercy. At this time, Hidden Flower also jumped onto the arena of life and death and cursed at Ling Xiao. Today, even if I have to risk my life, I'll make sure you die. I'll kill you. Hee, I'm ruthless? You old hag, is your brain not working well anymore? For the first 3 moves, I gave way to him. Only this last move was blocked by our unruly patriarch. Now you're saying I'm ruthless? I can only say that your son is as cowardly as a mouse. He'll turn into a fool after being scared a little. Ling Xiao looked at Hidden Flower with disdain. He was completely fearless. Although Nightwalker was blocked, he still had other things to rely on. If Nightwalker was simply Nightwalker, he wouldn't have acted so forcefully. You're courting death. Hidden Flower didn't waste any more words. He burst out with a shocking aura and charged toward Ling Xiao. You've already suffered. Yet you still don't know what's good for you? Ling Xiao was about to let the divine grimoire attack, but at that moment a figure blocked Hidden Flower's path. Enough. Letting you save dark gold is my benevolence. I can't bear to see a genius fall. But if you want to kill Ling Xiao, I can't agree. The one who blocked Hidden Flower was Lin Yuetian. He didn't make a move. Instead, he simply used his aura to block Hidden Flower, making him unable to move at all. We'll listen to young sect master's orders. Hidden Flower and Hidden Knight walk-about at the same time. Even if they were dissatisfied, they had to hold it in. They also had to thank the young sect master for letting them save dark gold. After all, even if one's mind was stimulated, there was still a chance to recover. Once a person died, there was nothing left. Lin Yuetian nodded slightly, then looked at Ling Xiao and said, Ling Xiao, it's just a spar between fellow sect members. Although it's called a life and death duel, you still have to be lenient whenever possible. For the sake of this young lord's face, how about you let this matter go? Your face? Your face is worthless in my eyes. Everyone thought that Ling Xiao wouldn't dare to speak carelessly in front of Lin Yuetian, no matter how arrogant he was. Unfortunately, they were all wrong. Ling Xiao looked at Lin Yuetian coldly, not giving him any face. I wonder which shameless fellow swore on his own face. Since you're so shameless, why don't you give me face? Do you still want me to give you face? Idiot. If I was the one who was killed by dark gold, you wouldn't even fart, right? Remember, if you want others to respect you and give you face, you have to respect others first. Since this is a life and death duel, dark gold must die. No matter who tries to stop you, it's useless. Lin Yuetian's expression was extremely awkward and ugly. He thought that Ling Xiao wouldn't dare to not give him face if he stepped in to mediate. Unfortunately, he was wrong. If it was someone else, they might have been able to do so. However, Ling Xiao was different. He enunciated each word clearly. With this young master here, can you kill him? 1,000-mile wolf pack attack. Ling Xiao didn't waste any more words with Lin Yuetian. He suddenly used the 1,000-mile wolf pack and turned into 81 wolf shadows. Lin Yuetian's face darkened as he stomped his foot. A crazy amount of energy exploded on the stage. Ling Xiao's 81 wolf silhouettes actually all disappeared. Ling Xiao's real body was also exposed. He was blocked by Dark Knight Walker again. Kid, I have given you face, but you don't know how to appreciate it. Arrogance will get you killed. Lin Yuetian looked at Ling Xiao coldly and arrogantly. Suddenly his expression changed. That was because he saw the kneeling Dark Gold being suddenly beheaded. Dark Gold's head fell onto the stage and blood gushed out. Lin Yuetian's arrogance and indifference were replaced by embarrassment and disbelief. He didn't even know how Ling Xiao killed Dark Gold. His sword chime of the Yin Mountain must have reached the transcendent state. The Dark Tribe Elder answered the question with a surprised look on his face. The Yin Mountain's sword cry of the transformative state has a terrifying special effect, which is that it will not only cause damage to the physical body, it can also store the sword chi in the soul and unleash it later. The Dark Folk Elder couldn't believe his own ears. He reached the level of transcendent sword cry in 10 days? Is this kid a god? Chapter 2483. Haha, I'm sorry, young sect master. The thousandly wolf was just a cover. Otherwise, with your observation skills, you would have discovered the hidden sword chi. Ling Xiao stood there and looked at Lin Yuetian mockingly. Since it was a battle of life and death, there had to be a winner. Otherwise, it would be child's play. Sect master, let's go back. Ling Xiao actually hoped that Lin Yuetian would attack. That way, he could use the butterfly lady and the divine grimoire to injure him. If that happened, who would dare to find trouble with him? But if Lin Yuetian didn't attack, he had no reason to either. However, Ling Xiao didn't know that. Seeing him and Yi Wuxing leave, Lin Yuetian's heart was filled with killing intent. He was the young sect master. If he wanted to find a reason to kill Ling Xiao, it would be easy. This time, he would let Ling Xiao live for the time being. Very soon, the revenge would begin. Not only would Ling Xiao die, but Yi Wuxing would also die. Lin Yuetian was basically the next sect master of the 8 Immortal Mountain. He couldn't tolerate Yi Wuxing's existence. Not only did Yi Wuxing not listen to his orders, but he even dared to protect Ling Xiao and become his enemy. Back in the courtyard, Dark Knight, formless, looked at Ling Xiao, sizing him up as though he didn't recognize him anymore. Sect Master, we're old friends. You don't have to look at me like that. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly. Today's incident made me realize that I don't understand you at all. Your talent is definitely more terrifying than I thought. But after today, you've offended not only the Sand Race, Sword Race, and Dark Race, but also the Sect Master's faction. Have you decided what to do? Yi Wuxing smiled bitterly. Different situations call for different actions. There's nothing to be afraid of. Moreover, I've already broken through to the 4th level of hell. I'm not far from the strongest in the 8 Immortal City. Their enmity will only fuel my fighting spirit and drive me to become stronger. Ling Xiao said with a relaxed smile, That's right. You've mastered the shadow martial arts in just 10 days. Not only that, you've also mastered the sword cry of the Yin Mountain. Even I can't compare to this kind of talent. Dark Knight, formless sighed. Mountain Chieftain, I'm afraid you've misunderstood. What I've comprehended isn't just the first style, and the second move, Sword Rends the Underworld. Furthermore, this move has already been cultivated to the great perfection realm. Ling Xiao said with a smile, What? Yi Wuxing was stunned for a long while before he shook his head and smiled bitterly. Looks like you're definitely one of those rare divine, rank geniuses in the profound world. In the entire Black Tortoise mainland, there has never been a genius like you. I'm afraid your aptitude is definitely not inferior to the former 12 beast gods. Ling Xiao smiled and declined to comment. His aptitude was strong, but if he didn't have the Sky Tyrant martial spirit and the crazy cultivation method, it would be impossible for him to be like this. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Since you have the strength to defeat a dark gold expert, there are some things that I can tell you. Yi Wuxing had always kept some things from Ling Xiao because he felt that Ling Xiao was not strong enough. But today, Ling Xiao had become so strong. Given enough time, Ling Xiao might not become the #1 genius of the Dark Ones, but he'd at least be on par with Dark Knight No Zun. What is it? Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment and asked, Do you know why the 8 Immortal City is under the control of the 8 Immortals Mountain? Yi Wuxing didn't answer directly. Instead, he asked a question. Because the 8 Immortals Mountain is strong enough? Ling Xiao pondered for a moment and said, That's right, but there needs to be a stage to show off. Yi Wuxing smiled and said, In fact, 30 years ago, the 8 Immortal City was still the Tianfeng City, and the one controlling it was the Tianfeng Group. But in the battle 30 years ago, we defeated the Tianfeng Group and gained the actual control of the 8 Immortal City for 30 years. Although the city lord is Lin Yuan from the Lin family, he is only managing the ordinary people on behalf of the 8 Immortals Mountain. All the martial artists must be under the jurisdiction of the 8 Immortals Mountain. You mean the fated battle is about to start again? Ling Xiao asked. Yes, the battle for the control of the city will be held this year. There is only 1 month left until now. At that time, the Tianfeng Group and the 8 Immortals Mountain will have another battle between the top geniuses. The participants will be the most outstanding youths under the age of 30 from the 2 major sections. The rules are similar to the battle for the position of the town lord of the Ascension Town, but the scale is much bigger. Even the royal family of the Chun country will be there. I don't think I need to say more about the benefits of the control of the 8 Immortal City. You should be very clear about it. All the income will go to the controller, and only 20% of it will be paid to the royal family as tax. Is the royal family of the Chen country very strong? With Ling Zhao's understanding of the mystic world anyone who could be called a king was not only an outstanding strategist, but also a powerful martial artist family. There was no doubt about this. Then, the royal family of the Chun country must be very strong. But to what extent, he did not have a clear idea. Let me put it this way. It is equivalent to the difference between the 8 Immortals Mountain and Ascension Town. Yi Shiwen explained. The difference is so big. Doesn't that mean that the strongest martial artist in the 8 Immortal City will only be the weakest in the royal city? Ling Xiao asked excitedly. Of course. If a martial artist wants to see the whole picture of the Black Tortoise Continent, he must constantly become stronger. Otherwise, he can only hide in a small place for the rest of his life. The Black Tortoise Continent is much bigger than the previous 3 continents combined. The number of martial artists on this continent is also more than the previous 3 continents combined. You must not become arrogant and complacent just because you have achieved a little. If you do, the one who will suffer in the end will be you. Yi Shiwen was most afraid that Ling Xiao would become arrogant and complacent because of his continuous victories. Although there were no signs of this yet, he felt that he should remind Ling Xiao so that Ling Xiao would not go astray. What are the rules of the duel? It won't be the same as the one in Ascension Town, right? Ling Xiao asked. Of course it won't be the same. In fact, it will be different every time. A few days ago, I heard from the upper echelons of the sect that this time's duel is very likely to be in the legendary Ox God's Maze. The Ox God is one of the 12 beast gods. He lost the battle for the king of beast gods, but his strength is unquestionable. The Ox God's Maze is a ruin left behind by the Ox God. As for what is inside, no one knows. What the younger generation needs to do is to enter the Ox God's Maze and find the legendary Ox God Beast Soul. This beast soul is not only incomparably powerful, but may also have some kind of inheritance. Chapter 2484. Beast Soul of the Ox God? Could it be the Ox God of the 12 beast gods? Ling Xiao could not help but feel a little excited when he heard Dark Night formless words. Only by gathering all the beast souls of the 12 beast gods would his beast soul transformation become even stronger. But in this day and age, the title of God had become worthless. Even a slightly stronger existence could be called a god. Whether this Ox God beast soul was the Ox God of the 12 beast gods was still debatable. But one thing was for sure, it was definitely a very powerful beast soul of the Ox God. Now that the steel-armored ox demon martial soul could not keep up with Ling Xiao's cultivation, it was very important to find a new beast soul to replace it. And he did not believe that this was the only good thing in the Ox God's Maze. After all, it was an ancient ruin. He had to participate in this competition. Although he knew that his current strength could not compare to geniuses like Jian Lufeng and Ming, Yi Wuzuan, Mo Feiyu, and Lin Ruoxian. But wasn't there still a month left? Many things could happen in a month. Within a month, his cultivation could also increase by a lot. He believed that Dark Night Formless had told him this because he thought highly of him. Don't worry, Mountain Lord. I will definitely be one of the participants in a month. Although I have no feelings for the 8 Immortal Mountain, I am very interested in the good things in the Ox God's Maze. Ling Xiao said with a smile, Don't be careless. Dark Night Formless was most afraid of Ling Xiao's arrogance, so he reminded him, You should know that in our 8 Immortal Mountain with your current strength, I'm afraid you are ranked outside of the top 20. Not to mention that monstrous Lin Yuetian with that guy's cultivation. Even I can't say for sure that I can win. So this is the most special person. The Ox God's Maze has a rule that only martial artists who have reached the first transformation 5th level of hell are qualified to enter. If you are not a first transformation martial artist, it doesn't matter how high your cultivation is. In our 8 Immortal Mountain, other than Lin Yuetian, there are a total of 5 martial artists who have reached the middle stage of the first transformation 5th level of hell. They are from the Sand Clan, Sword Clan, Snake Clan, Dark Clan, and Moon Clan. In addition, there are 10 early stage, first transformation, fifth level of Hell martial artists. They are distributed among the 8 great clans. All in all, there were already 16 of them, and there were still a bunch of martial art practitioners with cultivation at the first revolution, 4th level of Hell. You've just ascended to the 4th layer of Hell, and your cultivation is in the early stages. You should be able to rank in the top 10 in terms of combat prowess, but in terms of pure cultivation, I'm afraid you'll be ranked in the top 100. Therefore, you must remember that you must cultivate in a down-to-earth manner. You must guard against arrogance and rashness. Actually, whether or not you'll be able to participate in the Ox Deity's labyrinth battle is still unknown. According to the rules, the Sword Race, the Sand Race, the Snake Race, and the Dark Race could each send 2 people. The other 4 clans could each send 1 person. 2 of the sect leaders' direct disciples had to be sent. There were a total of 14 slots. If everything goes as planned, the Dark Race's 2 spots will go to Dark King and Dark Knight No Zune. When he said this, Dark Knight Formless was actually very contradictory. He was worried that Ling Xiao would be arrogant and complacent, but he was also afraid of hurting Ling Xiao's self-confidence, so he spoke very carefully. Then he looked at Ling Xiao's expression, hoping to see even a little bit of worry on Ling Xiao's face. Only when one was worried could one work harder. But he was wrong. Ling Xiao's expression was still indifferent, even a little disdainful. Don't worry, leader. They'll definitely give one of their spots to me. 1 month later, they won't be my match. This was what Ling Xiao said. Dark Knight Formless said helplessly. That's because you don't know how powerful they are. The 2 of them were almost equal in strength because they had both comprehended a top-tier Jade grade martial skill from the Umbra Black Gourd, and their cultivation is also on par with each other. Half a month ago, they both reached the early phase of the 5th level of Hell in the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm. But in this half a month, Dark King's cultivation broke through and reached the middle phase of the Yin-Yang realm, a little higher than Dark Knight No Zune. Do you think you have any chance of winning? Dark Knight, Formless, wanted to pour cold water on Ling Xiao, but his idea fell through again. Of course, although I can't fight them now, I don't think leader knows what I got from the Shadow Black Gourd, right? Ling Xiao said with a smile. Don't tell me you've comprehended for martial arts techniques? Dark Knight, Formless exclaimed. Apart from the first-generation ancestor, he was the only one who could do this. You can say that. Ling Xiao was afraid that this mountain chieftain would be too agitated, so he didn't tell her the truth. He only nodded vaguely. For martial arts techniques were already shocking enough. If Dark Knight Formless knew that he had comprehended 6 martial arts techniques, it would be too scary. What? It's true. Dark Knight Formless stood up in shock. No wonder you're so confident. Good, this is great. As long as you can make a breakthrough in your cultivation and master the remaining 2 top Jade grade martial arts techniques, you'll be able to defeat Dark Knight No Zune. Is the opponent strong? Lin Yang couldn't help but ask. Of course. Although we're not completely familiar with the Tianfeng group, as far as I know, there's a genius in the group who's not inferior to Lin Yuetian. And he's only 18 years old. Dark Knight Formless said. Actually, once you enter the Ox Deity's maze, other than yourself, everyone else should be your enemy. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Although logically speaking, the 8 Immortal Mountains martial artists should be united, I think the possibility of that happening is very low. With Lin Yuetian's domineering personality, I'm afraid he'll use everyone else as his stepping stones. So, whether it's the 8 Immortal Mountains martial artists or the Tianfeng group's martial artists, they can all be his opponents, or even his enemies. Although I don't want to admit it, your analysis is correct. Dark Knight Formless sighed. My request for you is very simple. If you really have the chance to participate in the competition, don't worry about anything else. Just get the benefits. After all, the 8 Immortal Mountain hasn't taken care of you for such a long time. Instead, so many people have come to find trouble with you. But the sect leader hasn't come out to mediate, let alone you. You're thinking the same thing as me. dark night formless. Ling Xiao said with a smile, I also think that the ox deity's beast soul is the most important thing. Although I don't know if it's useful, it's definitely something good. Once you get it, you can exchange it for something else. Not only that, Dark Knight Formless shook his head and said, Actually, the ox deity's beast soul isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is that once you get it, you can become a disciple of the Qin Kingdom's Arcana Academy. Whoever gets the ox deity's beast soul will be qualified directly, and the second and third place in the ox deity's maze will be decided through a duel to determine the last spot. Chapter 2485 Arcana Academy. I've heard of this before. Ling Xiao didn't only know how to cultivate. During his cultivation, he didn't forget to learn more about the local customs of the Black Tortoise continent. Although the information was limited, he also knew what the Arcana Academy in the Qin Kingdom's capital meant. It was an academy completely controlled by the Qin Kingdom's royal family. The disciples in the academy were all geniuses from all over the Qin Kingdom. And these geniuses weren't just ordinary geniuses, because the Arcana Academy's definition of a genius was, under the age of 20, reaching the 6th level of the Yin-Yang realm. In other words, until now, no one in the Eight Immortal City was qualified to be called a genius. Maybe Lin Yuetian and that woman from the Tianfeng group were, but it was only a possibility. Lin Yuetian was almost 20 years old, and that woman was 18 years old. If they couldn't break through in the last few days, then they didn't deserve to be called geniuses. Mountain Lord, I'm very curious. Why did the Arcana Academy have such a name? After all, what he read in the books wasn't everything. Some things had to be asked by experts, like Knight Formless. This isn't strange, because the Arcana Academy was built around an ancient ruin called the Extreme Royal Mystic Realm. It's said that only the Qin Kingdom's royal family knows how to enter the Extreme Royal Mystic Realm. It should be like the Ghost Prison, an independent space. It's probably evolved from a treasure left behind by ancient warriors. The Extreme Royal Mystic Realm is a natural holy land for cultivation. The spirit chi of heaven and earth inside is 10 to 100 times denser than outside. Not only that, the Extreme Royal Mystic Realm has a large amount of precious treasures. As long as you have enough strength, you can obtain them. So it's always been a place that geniuses yearn for. Unfortunately, other than the Arcana Academy's disciples, outsiders aren't qualified to enter. This is why the Arcana Academy's disciples are valued so much. It's said that as long as you don't die in the Extreme Royal Mystic Realm, you'll be reborn and your strength will greatly increase. You'll be able to surpass warriors who were once on the same level as you. Knight Formless explained. Oh, hearing Knight Formless' introduction, Ling Xiao's eyes lit up. It seemed like he would have to work even harder from now on. After a month, as long as he could obtain the divine ox beast soul, he would not only be able to use it to fill the deity positions of the 12 beast gods, they would also be eligible to join the Arcana Academy. He believed that as long as he obtained that qualification, everyone in the Eight Immortals County would have to be respectful to him. People were afraid of the strong. Even those who had a grudge with him in the past would have to be respectful to him by then. Such a good place must be very dangerous, right? Ling Xiao had seen many mystic realms and ruins. The better the place, the more dangerous it would be. That was why he asked. Hai Formless nodded. Of course, there's a race called the Yuanling living in the Extreme Royal Mystic Realm. This clan was formed through the condensation of the spiritual energy within the Extreme Royal Mystic Realm over countless years. Every member of the Meta-Spirit race was extremely powerful. Not only did they possess astonishing strength, they were also able to control the demonic beasts within the Imperial Mystic Realm to do battle. Therefore, the Arcana Academy had lost a lot of disciples over the years. That's why they recruit new disciples every year. Hee. Only with effort will there be rewards. This is interesting. I like to take risks. Ling Xiao didn't care about the dangers of the Extreme Royal Mystic Realm at all. As long as there were benefits, it was almost impossible not to pay a price. Ling Xiao, are you not going to tell me? Dark Knight Formless suddenly asked out of the blue. However, Ling Xiao knew exactly what he was asking. Mountain Lord, are you talking about Ling Yan? With your intelligence, you must have guessed it long ago. What difference does it make whether I tell you or not? I just don't want to drag you into these muddy waters. Ling Xiao was speaking from the bottom of his heart. Formless had already done enough for him. He didn't know what would happen when he went to the 5th level of the ghost prison to save Ling Yan. He didn't want Formless to get involved. Unfortunately, this isn't something you can control. I'm already on your boat. If I don't want to drown, I can only ensure that your boat doesn't capsize. Formless sighed. Do you think those people will let me go if I don't help you? Young Master Lin Yuetian can't wait for me to die. Since that's the case, I have to do something to make them unhappy. Ling Xiao was silent for a moment. Finally, he nodded and said, Fine. Since Mountain Lord said so, I won't waste any more words. The situation on the 5th floor of the ghost prison was complicated. There were many powerful opponents that one could encounter. If Mountain Lord is willing to help, it will be easier for me. That's right. Formless nodded and smiled. But if you want the 2 of us to enter the endless sea, I'm afraid 1 Umbra Black gourd won't be enough. We have to work together to get one of the 8 great clans' signature treasures. There's no need for that. Mountain Lord can take the Umbra Black gourd. I have the Black Immortal Sword, which is of the same origin as the Umbra Black gourd. Naturally, I can take it too. Ling Xiao said. No wonder I could feel the Umbra Black gourd's aura when you used the Black Immortal Sword. So that's why. Formless was overjoyed. That's great. I won't hide it from you. This time, I want to go with you to the 5th level of the ghost prison to investigate the real cause of my son's death. The one who killed my son was a warrior from the royal city. This warrior is from the Arcana Academy's archenemy, the Dragon Cult. I know about the Dragon Cult. They are the boss of the Chun Kingdom's underground forces. Almost all the shady things are done by them. The Chun Kingdom's royal family also hates them to the bone. But the Dragon Cult is very powerful, comparable to the Arcana Academy. Therefore, the royal family can't do much. Ling Xiao said, That's right. The Dragon Cult's sphere of influence is only in the royal city and the provincial capital. Fortunately, our county capital doesn't have it. Otherwise, the 8 Immortal Mountain and the Tianfeng group wouldn't be able to survive. Formless shook his head and said with a bitter smile, Let's go. This matter, the sooner the better. Once the elders or the sect master find out, it will be difficult to deal with. They are all people who want you and me to die as soon as possible. Although they don't dare to do it openly, it's very convenient to kill people in the ghost prison. I'm not worried about this. Mountain Lord, please wait for a while. I need to strengthen the formation of the courtyard. Ling Xiao was worried about his friends in the courtyard. These people weren't very strong. Without the protection of Formless, they would be in great danger. Therefore, he had to strengthen the formation first and make it the most solid place in the 8 Immortal Mountain, so that he wouldn't be sad when he came back. Chapter 2486. After reinforcing the formation, Ling Xiao notified Lin Ruoxian, hoping that she could visit more often. With Lin Ruoxian's cultivation, she might not be a match for those top experts, but she was more than enough to protect the people in the courtyard. After doing all this, Ling Xiao and Yi Shurchen set off. Ling Xiao's goal was to save Ling Yan. With Dark Knight Formless help, it would be much easier. As for Yi Shurchen, he wanted to go in and interrogate the Dragon Cult cultivator imprisoned on the 5th floor of the ghost prison. He wanted to find out the true cause of his son's death. In the past, he didn't want to take revenge, but now he wanted to find his son's murderer and kill him no matter what. The 5th floor of the ghost prison was no stranger to Yi Shurchen. He had come here many times when he was cultivating. As for Ling Xiao, he had only come here once. The cultivators in charge of guarding the 5th floor saw the two of them coming together. They couldn't help but whisper, "It seems like the Dark Tribe Elder is right. These two are going to the Demon Sea region." One of them said, "Yes, but that has nothing to do with us. We just need to do as the Elder said and let them pass. We don't need to be responsible for what happens next." Another person said, "That's right, but then again, the Dark Tribe Elder isn't planning to deal with them, is he? Let's not talk about Yi Shurchin's strength." Ling Xiao had comprehended the Dark Shadow martial arts and obtained the Dark Shadow Gourd. He had even defeated a Dark Gold expert who was at the peak of the 4th level of hell. With such talent, is it worth it to provoke him? That's right. He's only 16 or 17 years old right now. Not only has he reached the first transition 4th floor, but he can also defeat a Dark Gold expert. We can't compare to him at all. Why don't we tell them what the Dark Tribe Elder said? This way, we won't go against the Elder's orders, and we won't offend Yi Shurchin and Ling Xiao. Good idea. The guards discussed this in private. They all felt that they were small fries and couldn't afford to offend anyone, so they decided not to offend anyone. When Dark Knight, Formless, and Ling Xiao arrived, they told them what the Dark Elders had told them. "Mountain Lord, I'm afraid that old bastard is really going to do something to us. I'm afraid we'll be in deep trouble if we go to the Devil's Sea domain," Ling Xiao said. "Scared?" Black Knight, Formless, asked. "That's not it. If he dares to come, we'll make sure he never comes back." Ling Xiao sneered. Against an enemy stronger than him, he had no interest in talking about fairness. He would directly use the power of the divine grimoire and the butterfly lady without hesitation. "Let's go." Dark Knight, Formless, laughed. If it was in the past, he might have stopped Ling Xiao from having such crazy thoughts. But today he would not do that. If the Dark Ones wanted to deal with him, he wouldn't hold back. The two of them stepped onto the canoe and passed through the cultivation route before finally arriving at the entrance of the Demonic Sea region. Naturally, Sire Shui appeared. "Sire Shui, I've already obtained the Dark Shadow Gourd. I want to save my brother, so I'll have to trouble you to open the entrance." Ling Xiao cupped his hands and said. This made Dark Knight, Formless, a little surprised. When did Ling Xiao become friends with Sire Shui, who was guarding this place? Yes, of course. Sire Shui had already decided to help Ling Xiao turn the 8 Immortal Mountain upside down. He hated the 8 Immortal Mountain to the bone. The things that the 8 Immortal Mountain did to him were unforgivable. Wait a moment. Dark Knight, Formless, looked at Sire Shui coldly and said, "I recognize you. You're a cultivator from the Dragon Cult." Dragon Cult? Ling Xiao was stunned. He didn't know that Sire Shui was from the Dragon Cult. That's right. This old man is from the Dragon Cult. In the past, for my brother, I didn't hesitate to leave the Dragon Cult and submit myself to this small 8 Immortal Mountain. Unfortunately, my good brother was harmed, and even I was plotted against. In the end, I was trapped in this predicament. Sire Shui hatefully said, "You're the one who killed my son?" Dark Knight, Formless, coldly said, "Your son? Ha ha ha, are you mistaken? This old man has been trapped here for several hundred years. How could I kill your son? You're only a first transition cultivator, so your son must be even younger." Sire Shui laughed. "It seems that I'm mistaken, but since Sire Shui is trapped here, you should have seen the cultivator from the Dragon Cult that was imprisoned here, right?" Dark Knight, Formless, asked again. "I've seen him. Not only that, but he also told me some things. He originally came to the 8 Immortal City to carry out a mission, but he was used by someone to kill a talented brat. That brat should be your son, right?" Sire Shui sighed. "Where is he?" "Dead. In fact, he was killed the moment he stepped into the Demonic Sea domain." Sire Shui said. Silenced. Ling Xiao knitted his brows. Dark Knight, Formless, naturally thought of this. Since that cultivator from the Dragon Cult was used by someone, then the person who used him would naturally kill him to silence him. Sire Shui, that person didn't tell you who ordered him to kill my son? Dark Knight, formless, asked anxiously. The one looking for him is Sha Hai from the 8 Immortal Mountain Sand Clan. But as for who the mastermind is, this old man doesn't know. I reckon that cultivator from the dragon cult doesn't know either. Sire Shui shook his head. It's a pity that Sha Hai is already dead. No one knows the secret anymore. Ling Xiao knitted his brows. Now that he thought about it, Sha Hai had provoked him several times and wanted to have a life and death battle with him. But no one from the Sand Clan stopped him. At that time, he was already very strong, and Sha Hai might not have been able to win. Perhaps the mastermind would rather Sha Hai die just like that. That way, he could completely bury this past in the dust of history. How sinister. But this old man won't let you have your way. Even if I have to revive Sha Hai, this old man will investigate this matter thoroughly. After all, this might be Dark Knight formless, only hope now. Mountain Lord, leave the matter of rescuing Ling Yen to me. You should go back and ask the Moon Clan for their Moonlight soul-controlling needle. The Moonlight soul-controlling needle can directly pull out the soul of the dead from the Yellow Springs and interrogate it. Ling Xiao looked at Dark Knight formless. But it's not safe for you to be alone. Dark Knight formless shook his head. Moreover, the Dark Clan's elder has been watching you. Mountain Lord, actually, I've been thinking along the way that I'm a smaller target if I'm alone. Moreover, you don't have many opportunities. Since they're watching me, they'll naturally ignore you. At this time, it's best for you to investigate the cause of your son's death. Ling Xiao smiled. Also, Mountain Lord, have you forgotten? I have someone protecting me. Last time when you were surrounded by the Elder and Lin Yuetian, it was that person behind me who helped you. Chapter 2487. Forget it. Since that's the case, take this soul-locking token. If there's any danger, just summon me. I'll definitely rush over. High Formless didn't want to be entangled in this matter, so he gave Ling Xiao a soul-locking token and turned to leave. Ling Xiao held the soul-locking token and carefully placed it into his storage ring. He wasn't a stubborn person. If there was any danger to his life, he would definitely use it. Of course, he would try his best not to use it. As long as it didn't endanger his life, it would be very helpful to his cultivation. Sire Shui, we'll meet again if fate allows. If I, Ling Xiao, am still alive, I will definitely not forget you. I will definitely get all the 8 treasures of the 8 Immortal Mountain and save you. After Ling Xiao finished speaking, he also stepped into the Devil's Sea domain. Actually, Sire Shui didn't ask him for anything. But Ling Xiao felt that since he had received Sire Shui's favor, he should help him. Furthermore, the 8 treasures of the 8 Immortal Mountain were something that Ling Xiao had always wanted. Rescuing and becoming stronger weren't contradictory. Looking at Ling Xiao's departing figure, Sire Shui sighed. I only helped him break through a level, and he's actually so grateful. It seems that even if it's for myself, I have to let him leave here alive. Sire Shui knew that once Ling Xiao stepped into the Devil's Sea domain, there was a high chance that he would die. Thus, he decided to help this child. He was trapped here. Although he couldn't leave the Devil's Sea domain, he could still move around. At the very least, he could ensure that Ling Xiao wouldn't die here. Ling Xiao didn't know what Sire Shui was thinking. At this moment, he had already quietly entered the Sand Race's territory. This place was heavily guarded. It seemed that the Sand Race cared a lot about this sea domain. Perhaps it was because of the terrifying pressure here that could create a truly powerful expert. Furthermore, this was a place where criminals were detained. Originally, with Ling Xiao's cultivation, it was impossible for him to move around freely here. But with the Dark Shadow Gourd and Black Immortal Sword, he could move freely and completely ignore the pressure here. Using Shadow Step, Ling Xiao easily avoided the guards and entered the core of the Sandrace's sea region. Upon entering, he was a little shocked because he discovered that there was actually a huge factory here. The factory produced a steady stream of all kinds of equipment used by martial artists. This included weapons, armor, and so on. The people who worked here were the felons who had been imprisoned. They wore special collars around their necks that could suppress their internal energy. He could only release about 10% of it, which could be used for work. However, if he released more than 10% of it, the collar would suddenly shrink, making it impossible for these people to rebel. Ling Yan was among them. However, he seemed to have made a mistake and was being hung up and beaten in an open space in the factory. In a situation where he was unable to use more than 10% of his internal energy, Ling Yan was beaten quite badly. However, this kid was indeed a genius, second only to him. Back when they were at Yuhua Town, Ling Yan's cultivation was already stronger than his. Although he was not as good as him now, he had already cultivated to the peak of the 3rd level of hell of the Yin-Yang realm. Furthermore, in such a harsh environment, he was still able to catch up to him. It seemed that although the Demon Sea region was terrifying, it still needed to train people. Master, there are too many experts here. I'm afraid it won't be easy to make a move. Xindian reminded. Ling Xiao nodded. He had also discovered that in the Sand Races Sea region, there were actually more than 10 martial artists at the 5th level of hell of the Yin-Yang realm. Although these people were rather old and could not be considered geniuses. However, their strength was much stronger than his. It would not be easy for him to save people. I can only use the butterfly lady's soul first. Ling Xiao was about to make a move. Suddenly, an illusory figure condensed in the sea and gradually became clearer. I'll help you create chaos. You take the opportunity to save people. Sire Shui. Ling Xiao stared the illusory figure that appeared in the sea in shock, somewhat surprised. Logically speaking, Sire Shui had no reason to help him. Don't be surprised. If you die, who'll save me? Sire Shui smiled and circulated his internal energy. Suddenly, many huge sea beasts drilled out of the calm sea. The people of the 8 Immortal Mountain have been trapping me in the eye of the sea, preventing my soul from leaving. However, they don't know that I've used the power of the eye of the sea to control many sea beasts. I originally planned to try to escape, but I'll lend it to you for today. The terrifying sea beasts all gathered in the Sand Races Sea region. Chaos began. The Sand Races martial artists did not have time to prepare. This was because there had never been a sea beast that dared to attack the 8 Immortal Mountains stronghold in the Demon Sea region. Therefore, the Sand Races Sea region fell into chaos. Ling Yan raised his head and looked at the sea beasts. He could not help but smile bitterly. F*CK, I didn't get tortured to death by these bastards. Instead, I'm going to become your delicacy. This is so King annoying. Just as he was in despair, he suddenly saw a figure standing on top of a sea beast. Although he was bleeding, he could still see clearly. Boss! When Ling Yan saw this person, he was both shocked and happy. He had thought of many possibilities, but he did not expect that Ling Xiao would come to save him. This was just like a dream. You call me boss. If I don't save you, wouldn't it be too disappointing? Ling Xiao chuckled. He made use of the impact of the sea beast to destroy the surrounding Sand Races martial artists. Then he saved Ling Yan. After that, he did not stop and directly escaped from the Demon Sea region. As long as he was on the cultivation route, he would be safe for the time being. After all, there were many islands on the cultivation route. Even if the 8 Immortal Mountain wanted to chase after Ling Yan, they would not be able to find him in a short time. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ling Xiao could activate the teleportation array that he had prepared beforehand. He could teleport directly from the 5th level to the 1st level of the ghost prison. Then he could let Ling Yan mix in with the disciples of the 8 Immortal Mountain and escape. I didn't expect the plan to go so smoothly. After escaping from the Demon Sea region and reaching one of the islands, Ling Xiao heaved a sigh of relief. Boss, you know everything about me, right? Ling Yan looked at Ling Xiao, still unable to calm down. I know. Then you still dared to save me? Aren't you afraid of becoming enemies with the 8 Immortal Mountain? It's not easy for you to have your current status. Ling Yen could not help but say, "What nonsense are you talking about? Since I dared to come here to save you, I'm not afraid of becoming enemies with them. If I didn't even dare to save my good brother, then I, Ling Shao, would not have today's achievements. It's this kind of fearlessness that allows my cultivation speed to be faster than anyone else." Ling Shao patted Ling Yan's shoulder heavily and scolded with a smile. Ling Yan was silent. After a long silence, he suddenly knelt down and said, "Boss, I used to call you boss purely because of your strength, but from today onwards, I, Ling Yan, will be yours." Ling Yan was once the sect master of the 8 Immortal Mountain. He could be considered a person with a high position. Chapter 2488. Let's not talk about such things between brothers. But you're the #1 genius of 8 Immortals Mountain. Don't you feel wronged calling me boss? Ling Shao waved his hand. He believed that Ling Yan would live and die with him, just like his old brothers. With the Taiji eye, he was sure he hadn't misjudged him. "Are you kidding me, boss? I've seen how terrifying your cultivation speed is. I entered the cycle of reincarnation much earlier than you, but now your cultivation is even higher than mine. If we're talking about geniuses, boss, you're a true peerless genius." Ling Yan smiled dryly. "Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's rest for a bit, then go." That dark elder knew I would come to the demon seas. Yet he had the guards let me in. He probably didn't have good intentions. As soon as he said this, Ling Shao froze. A bitter expression appeared on his face. "Old man, since you're here, show yourself." He took a deep breath and gradually regained his composure. Panic and fear were meaningless. The dark elder had appeared, so he could only face him calmly. Fortunately, he had anticipated this possibility. That was why he hadn't used the Divine Codex or the Butterfly Lady's power in the Demon Seas. Now they could be put to good use. He absolutely couldn't be captured, and neither could Ling Yan. Otherwise, the Dark Elder would make a big fuss about it. With sufficient reason, they could openly punish him. The Elder probably wouldn't kill him on the spot. He would definitely put him on trial and have everyone from 8 Immortals Mountain attend. He would be sentenced to death in front of everyone. No wonder everything had gone so smoothly. Ling Shao finally understood. The old man had been watching him all this time. He'd watched him save people, watched him flee here, and then suddenly appeared. "Ha ha ha ha, kid, your reaction is quite sharp. You actually sensed this old man's presence." The Dark Tribe Elder sneered as he appeared. Standing beside him was Elder Darkflower. "Elder, just leave these 2 little things to me. You should hurry up and deal with that traitor Yu Wuxing. I'm afraid that the young sect master won't be able to deal with him alone." Hidden Flower had obtained such a good opportunity to kill Ling Shao. This was something she had dreamed of. She was afraid of Dark Knight Formless, but she was definitely not afraid of Ling Shao. Even if the other party had Ling Yan with them, it would still be useless. Young Sect Master isn't the only one on Dark Knight Formless side. The Sect Master has already personally taken action, so you don't have to worry. The Dark Elder was a sly old fox. He said, coldly, "You said that Ling Shao has a strong backer. That's why I have to stay here. Just do what you need to do. I'll take care of that unknown person." Elder is wise. Hidden Flower froze for a moment, then nodded. To be honest, the only person she was afraid of was the expert she had never seen before. If that person insisted on protecting Ling Shao, she would be in trouble. Now that she had the protection of the Dark Race Elders, she wasn't afraid. "Ling Shao, I can give you a chance to live." The Elder of the Dark Tribe looked at Ling Shao and asked, "Oh, you're going to be merciful?" Ling Shao sneered. He naturally knew this old thing was up to no good. "Of course, as long as you kill Ling Yan with your own hands. Then take this pill, I'll let you go." The Dark Tribe Elder took out a purple pill that emanated a mesmerizing aura. A bewitching pill. Don't tell me this was refined by that woman called Qingling. I heard this pill can only be refined by those who know the bewitching heart art. Ling Xiao frowned. After taking it, if you want, you can control me like a puppet. Not bad, right? Haha, you know a lot. But it's better to live than to die. Being a puppet is better than being dead. You're a cultivator who's reincarnated, and a genius among geniuses. Even I have to admit your talent. If you die like this, it'll be a pity. The dark elder sneered. I'd rather die standing than live kneeling. Besides, do you really think you can kill me? I know you're secretly watching me, but I still chose to save Ling Yan. Why do you think I did that? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Boy, you're still trying to be mysterious at this time. Forget it. It seems like you don't want to live anymore. Hidden Flower, do it. The Dark Elder and Ling Xiao's grudge stemmed from Fei Tian and Jin. But the real reason he wanted Ling Xiao dead was because Ling Xiao's talent was too strong. If he couldn't use such a guy, it would be very troublesome to keep him alive. Yes, Elder. Hidden Flower smiled coldly and walked toward Ling Xiao and Ling Yan. Ling Yan, I'll stop them. Take the opportunity to leave. Ling Xiao lowered his voice and stood in front of Ling Yan. Boss, I won't leave. I can't always be protected by you. Ling Yan shook his head and said, If we die together. If we live together. Shut up. I know what you're thinking, but you're so weak right now. How can you help me? Leave and become stronger. When that time comes, come back and help me. Ling Xiao shouted sternly. Hee, none of you can leave. You're all going to die here. Hidden Flower revealed a sinister sneer. That's not necessarily true. Ling Xiao suddenly entered the transformation state of the butterfly lady's soul. Only in this state could he defeat Hidden Flower. As for the Dark Elder, with the Divine Codex blocking him, he wouldn't be able to escape for a while. Today, not only did he want Ling Yan to escape, but he also wanted to live. Go, he shouted loudly. Ling Yan originally didn't want to leave even if he was beaten to death, but he suddenly sensed the powerful energy released from Ling Xiao's body. He understood that he was too weak. Since he was too weak, he could only leave. Leaving was the best choice for him. Boss, don't die. After saying that, he turned and left. Do you think you can escape? The Dark Elder sneered. If I let you escape while I'm here, wouldn't that be too cowardly? Suddenly, his figure flashed and appeared in front of Ling Yan. However, just as he was about to wave his hand to destroy Ling Yan, an extremely terrifying sword Qi suddenly attacked. The Dark Elder was shocked and hurriedly dodged. Although Ling Yan didn't know what was going on, he still chose to escape. At this time, he couldn't hesitate at all. Who are you? You dare to attack, but don't dare to show yourself? The Dark Elder couldn't see the Divine Codex's phantom and was a little nervous. However, the other party didn't attack. The Divine Codex's power was limited. As long as it didn't attack, it could last for a while. Chapter 2489. Even if I have to escape, I have to destroy Hidden Flower. Ling Xiao felt that he couldn't just leave like that. Not only did he have to completely destroy the Dark Clan Elder scheme, but he also had to make the Elder lose his powerful subordinates. As an Elder of the Dark Clan, Hidden Flower was very loyal to this old thing. If he killed her, this old thing would definitely be angered to the point that his heart would ache. Just thinking about it made him feel good. Ling Yan had already escaped. Now it was time for him to escape. He looked at Hidden Flower coldly and didn't release the full power of the butterfly lady's soul, because he wanted to bet that he could kill Hidden Flower in one move. One more move and he wouldn't be able to do it. So he had to pretend to be a pig before he could eat the tiger. Hidden Flower looked at Ling Xiao very warily because she didn't know what kind of scheme this kid had. Although the expert behind Ling Xiao had already gone to deal with the Elder, she was still very careful. She didn't want to fail miserably. However, there was a limit to everyone's vigilance. After Hidden Flower sent Ling Xiao flying consecutively, she gradually felt that she had overestimated this kid. Even if this kid could kill dark gold rank experts compared to her, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. How could she be afraid? Finally, she started to underestimate her opponent. Ling Xiao endured the pain in his body and waited for this moment to arrive. He watched as Hidden Flower attacked his side and completely lost his previous vigilance. He knew that it was time for him to make a move. Boom! The black immortal sword was finally unsheathed. A cold aura instantly enveloped Hidden Flower. The power of the butterfly lady's soul was completely released. At that moment, Hidden Flower revealed a shocked expression, because she realized that the power in Ling Xiao's body was not inferior to hers at all. But how was this possible? Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't answer her question. The sword stabbed out, and the entire space fell into darkness. The first move of the shadow martial art, sword cry Een Mountain. Een Mountain shrouded and the black tiger roared. The two of them were less than a foot apart. Even if Hidden Flower was several times stronger than Ling Xiao, it would be difficult for her to dodge this attack. Moreover, her current strength wasn't as strong as Ling Xiao's when he transformed into the Butterfly Lady's soul. The Butterfly Lady's soul could allow Ling Xiao to temporarily possess the strength of a First Revolution Yin Yang realm's 5th level of hell, coupled with the advanced lightning battle physique and the power of the Imperial Earth Queen. There was also the black immortal sword in his hand, as well as the incomparably powerful shadow martial arts. He definitely had the ability to kill Hidden Flower, who was at the peak of Yin Yang realm level 5. It's just that I don't have that much confidence. That was why Ling Xiao had been waiting for this perfect opportunity. Puchi! The black immortal sword pierced through Hidden Flower's body, and dark red blood splattered all over the ground. At that moment, Hidden Flower truly felt fear. He felt the god of death approaching. She was scared, extremely scared. With a scream, she turned around and tried to escape. He didn't die. Ling Xiao sighed helplessly. This woman was indeed a high elder of the Dark Ones. She had been pierced by such a powerful attack, and the sword chi continued to wreak havoc in her body, but she was still alive. But that was it. It was enough to seriously injure this woman. Looking at the Dark One's elder who wanted to rush over but was stopped by the divine grimoire, Ling Xiao sneered. He stepped onto the canoe and sped out of the 5th level of the ghost prison. Damn it! The Dark One's elder didn't expect that he and Hidden Flower together wouldn't be able to stop this kid. He roared angrily, but it was to no avail. He was cunning, but he still couldn't beat Ling Xiao's cunning mind. Bang! Just as the Dark Tribe Elder was about to explode with rage, a terrifying sword light came from afar. It was headed straight for the clouds. This sword was obviously meant to kill Ling Xiao. Young society master. The Dark Tribe Elder was overjoyed. Although it was embarrassing for 2 Yin Yang realm martial artists at the 6th level of hell and 1 Yin Yang realm martial artist at the peak of the 5th level of hell to deal with Ling Xiao, it was still embarrassing. But as long as Ling Xiao could die, he wasn't afraid of this scandal spreading. He won't be able to escape. Even the 1,000-mile wolf can't dodge this sword, unless he cultivated the 4th move of the 1,000-mile wolf. But that shouldn't be possible. Lin Yuetian slowly flew over from afar, looking coldly at the sword energy that enveloped Ling Xiao. This left Ling Xiao with no place to escape, but it was as if he was deliberately slapping his face. Ling Xiao's figure suddenly disappeared. 1,000-mile wolf, 4th move, nether wolf. It turned into a nether wolf, invisible and traceless. Even the shadow step wasn't as good as the nether wolf at this stage. The nether wolf was immune to all physical attacks. Only soul power could hurt it. Lin Yuetian and Feng Yin, you two better remember this. The next time I, Ling Xiao, return to 8 Immortal Mountain, it will be the time of your death. With a loud roar, Ling Xiao fell into the vast sea. His body continued to sink. Although he dodged Lin Yuetian's attack, his canoe was destroyed, and he was directly sucked into the sea. As said before, as long as you entered the deep sea, you would be continuously pulled down. Only Sire Shui, who had merged with the eye of the sea, and the sea beasts in the sea would be fine. Ling Xiao didn't know if he could survive, but he wouldn't despair until the last moment. As he sank into the deep sea, he released his twin martial souls. This way, even if he died, his twin martial souls could live on. But Shen Dian didn't know this. When she saw Ling Xiao fall into the sea, she abandoned Feng Yun and jumped into the sea as well. "Boss!" A figure jumped out from the forest on the island. It was Ling Yan, who was supposed to escape. He roared and jumped into the sea. Ling Yan didn't escape. He didn't want to abandon Ling Xiao and run for his life. He might be the only one who wouldn't die in the deep sea of the 5th level of the ghost prison, although he would lose all his cultivation. But he didn't care. Ling Xiao was willing to give up his life for him. He would only lose his cultivation. As long as Ling Xiao didn't die, nothing else mattered. "Stupid guy, you're courting death." And Feng Yun was stunned for a moment when he saw Ling Yan jump into the sea. Then he sneered. "Humph, brother's love is deep. I didn't think that brothers who aren't related by blood would be closer than family." Lin Yuetian snorted, his voice full of mockery. "Young sect master wears dark night formless." And Feng Yun asked, "The sect master has personally taken action. Do you think that guy has any chance of surviving?" Lin Yuetian said disdainfully, "Now it's quiet. Dark night formless, Ling Xiao and Ling Yan are all dead. Elder and Feng Yun, you should be happy, right? The one who should be happy is the young sect master. With these arrogant guys around, it'll be difficult for you to carry out your plan. But are they really dead?" And Feng Yun frowned and was worried. "Of course they're dead. No one who fell into the deep sea came back alive. They're no exception." Chapter 2490. Am I dead? Ling Xiao opened his eyes and found that he was surrounded by darkness. He thought he had entered the Yellow Springs. It was bone-chilling cold, as if he was in an ice coffin. He had never been to the Yellow Springs, so he was not sure about his situation. However, even if he was really dead, he would kill his way out of the Yellow Springs and seek revenge on Lin Yuetian and Feng Yun. "Boss, you're finally awake." Suddenly, a voice rang out. This caused Ling Xiao to be stunned. The voice was too familiar. It was Ling Yan's. Could it be that Ling Yan was killed too? Sigh, what a failure. He thought that Ling Yan would be able to escape and avenge him in the future. Now, it seemed that he could only kill his way out of the Yellow Springs. "Ling Yan, don't be afraid. Although we're all dead, we can still kill our way out of the Yellow Springs." No matter what, Ling Xiao would never give up hope. Since he was still conscious, it meant that he could still cultivate even if he was dead. Therefore, he did not care. "Boss, we're not dead." Ling Yan's voice sounded very weak. "Not dead." Ling Xiao was stunned. He immediately circulated his inner strength and found that the strength in his body did not weaken. Instead, it showed signs of increasing. He had already reached the last step of the first turn of the Yin-Yang realm, the 4th level of hell. He only needed an external force to push him forward, and he would be able to make a breakthrough. Kacha! Something seemed to have cracked. A ray of light shone in from the outside. Only then did Ling Xiao realize that he was actually encased in an ice coffin. He saw Ling Yan through the cracks of the ice coffin. Ling Yan could only be described as pitiful. He was so thin that he looked like a bag of bones. His cultivation level was also reduced to 0. How could this be? Ling Xiao was stunned. Then, fragments of memories appeared in his mind. He held his head and pondered for a while. Finally, his eyes turned red. "Why are you so stupid? You destroyed your life's hope for me." Ling Xiao knew everything that had happened. When Ling Yan was the sect leader of the 8 Immortal Mountain, he had studied the deep sea and even created a magical treasure that could prevent death in the deep sea. This time, he had relied on this magical treasure to ensure that they would not die. However, in the process of using this magic weapon, it would continuously absorb Ling Yan's internal energy and physical strength. Ling Yan didn't die. He was really lucky. "Boss, what are you talking about? You risked your life to save me. I'll just lose my cultivation base. It's not like I'll die." Ling Yan said with a smile. Good brother, I, Ling Shao, swear that I won't let you become a cripple. Ling Shao gritted his teeth and knocked the ice coffin open. This ice coffin should be able to help warriors recover their physical strength and heal their injuries. At the critical moment, Ling Yan gave it to Ling Shao to use. Ling Shao remembered this friendship deeply in his heart. He hurriedly took out a life-saving pill and gave it to Ling Yan to ensure that Ling Yan would not die from weakness. Then, he let Ling Yan temporarily enter the beast ring to rest. Shen Dian, are you okay? Ling Shao remembered that Shen Dian seemed to have jumped down. Master, don't worry. I'm a spiritual body. The deep sea will not harm me. Shen Dian's voice sounded. This made Ling Shao sigh in relief. However, how to get out of this damn place was a problem. Only by leaving this place could he treat Ling Yan's injuries. There were no medicinal herbs here. The conditions were not good. The spiritual energy was very poor. It was not realistic to want to cultivate here. He stood up and began to look around, hoping to find a way out. Although he could endure it for the time being, Ling Yan couldn't drag it out. If he did, he would really die. No matter what, I can't give up. Ling Shao gritted his teeth and opened his Tai Chi eye. He released his soul power and began to look for a way out. Although his courtyard was protected by a formation, if he did not return for a long time, those bastards from 8 Immortal Mountain would have a way to break it. At that time, his friends would naturally be tortured. I don't know how the mountain is doing. Did they escape? And my elder sister, will she be implicated in my affairs? Although the Moon Clan promised to protect Ling Jiaojiao, but now that his whereabouts were unknown, He Yi Wuxing probably would not have an easy time. Can the Moon Clan still protect Ling Jiaojiao? Ling Shao expressed his doubts. It was because of this that he became even more anxious. And, just as he was feeling extremely anxious, he suddenly discovered that there were actually 8 huge tombstones in this seemingly boundless deep sea. There was no grave under the tombstones. Instead, there were 8 coffins placed directly. These 8 coffins were completely made of bronze. They were chained up by thick iron chains. Strange inscriptions flickered on them. Clearly, the thing inside had been sealed. 8 coffins, 8 tombstones. Could it be related to the rumored founder of the 8 Immortal Mountain? It was said that the founder of the 8 Immortal Mountain was 8 people, 8 ancient people with extremely high cultivation. But if it was really them, why were they trapped here? Ling Shao did not understand. But since he could not find the exit, with his bold character, he naturally did not mind taking a look. Thinking of this, he quickened his pace and ran in this direction. When he got close, he felt the terror of these 8 tombstones. All of them were black. Ling Shao stood nearby, as small as an ant. From the tombstones, a powerful force was constantly released. This kind of power made Ling Shao somewhat unable to bear it, so he had no choice but to release the Sky Tyrant Martial Spirit. Since there was no one else here, he was not afraid of being exposed. The moment the Sky Tyrant Martial Spirit was released, the terrifying pressure on the 8 tombstones actually retracted. It was like 8 terrifying beasts meeting an even more terrifying Beast King. Heart Demon of Sand, Heart Demon of Shock, Heart Demon of Sword, Heart Demon of Snake, Heart Demon of Darkness, Heart Demon of Moon, Heart Demon of Bird. These were the words engraved on the 8 tombstones. And in the middle of the 8 tombstones, there was a huge rock with a small paragraph of words engraved on it. The meaning was not difficult to understand. I have cultivated for thousands of years and finally cultivated the body of the 8 immortals. However, the heart demon is difficult to eliminate. Therefore, the 8 immortals are united and the 8 heart demons are sealed here. If there are any juniors who accidentally come here, do not move. After reading this, Ling Shao instantly understood. This should be the place where the founder of the 8 Immortal Mountain sealed the 8 heart demons. This ancestral master was truly terrifying. He actually managed to cultivate 8 types of doppelgangers. Others thought that the 8 immortals were 8 people, but they did not know that there was only one immortal. "You don't want me to move? I want to move." A smile appeared on Ling Xiao's face. Anyway, he was trapped here. There was no door to heaven and no road to hell. Instead of waiting for death, he might as well do something. Maybe he could change the situation. At most, he would die. It was better than being trapped to death. Thinking of this, he began to observe the chains on the 8 coffins. The thick chains were incomparably huge. They looked very frightening. Chapter 2491. One day and one night. This was the time Ling Xiao had spent studying the inscriptions on the huge chain. However, he had finally reaped the rewards of his efforts. The huge chain finally broke. The 8 coffins produced a terrifying, throbbing sound. What a powerful force! Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment before he sat down cross-legged and used his tyrannical martial soul to deal with this frightening force. The force finally restrained itself under the pressure of the tyrannical martial soul, but it was still very ferocious. 8 streaks of black qi came out of the 8 coffins. They were like 8 huge black snakes that attacked Ling Xiao. Taotai beasts swallow them. Ling Xiao's eyes were wide open as a terrifying aura came from the void behind him. A huge beast stepped on the air and came over. A low roar echoed throughout the entire space. Its huge mouth was like a black hole that swallowed the 8 huge black snakes one by one. The 8 black snakes struggled with all their might, but to no avail. Although they were the incomparably powerful inner demons of the 8 immortals, they had been sealed in the coffins for a long time, and their strength was no longer what it used to be. In addition, Ling Xiao was controlling the Taotai beast with his tyrannical martial soul, so it was extremely powerful. Swallowing the 8 black snakes was as easy as flipping his hand. They are indeed inner demons. The 8 black snakes were destroyed and dissolved in the stomach of the Taotai beast. The memories of the black snakes kept flashing. Ling Xiao finally understood everything. The ancestors of the 8 Immortal Mountain had completely cut off these inner demons and negative emotions in order to become the embodiment of justice. They had sealed him here. Unexpectedly, thousands of years had passed, and Ling Xiao had achieved his goal. Ling Xiao was the least afraid of inner demons and negative emotions. This was because he had once completely turned into a demon and was still able to maintain his original heart. He was a pure demon, so why would he be afraid of inner demons? What these inner demons brought to him was a leap in his soul force, a leap in his strength. His cultivation had instantly broken through to the middle stage of the 4th level of hell. Late stage cultivation. Peak cultivation. He was only a short distance away from the 5th level of hell. The powerful inner demons had been converted into Ling Xiao's pure soul power, which made the Divine Codex and Yuan Venerate more solid. The silhouette of a Yuan Venerate could already be seen clearly. However, the Divine Codex had directly condensed a physical body, using the secret sword as the material and the large amount of spirit stones and natural treasures in Ling Xiao's storage ring to condense a physical body. She had long golden hair, blue eyes, and fair skin. The divine grimoire had become a real existence, and her strength was even more astonishing. Although I haven't fully recovered yet, Master, Shandian can help you deal with those bastards from the 8 Immortals Mountain. Shandian was wearing an exotic dress and a pair of small leather boots. She looked very beautiful and charming. "You actually called me Master?" Ling Xiao was a little surprised. He was actually quite worried. With Shandian's current strength, he could kill him with a single slap. This made him extremely nervous. But the other party actually called him Master? Shandian is a person who knows how to repay kindness. Although he is stronger than you now, Master, you have paid a huge price to obtain the Sword Soul Stone for Shindian. Shindian will remember this in his heart. The divine grimoire was like an innocent little girl, full of admiration and gratitude for Ling Xiao. Furthermore, Master's martial soul should be the powerful Mountain River martial soul. But there are some changes. With the Mountain River martial soul, he will become the master of the mystic world sooner or later. Shan Dian is also thinking about his future. She smiled very cutely. Won't you be able to take the mountain river martial soul if you kill me? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. No, Master has obviously completely transformed the mountain river martial soul into his own. If you die, the mountain river martial soul will also disappear. Therefore, Master doesn't have to worry about the mountain river martial soul being snatched away. They won't be able to. The divine grimoire shook his head. People's hearts are unpredictable. Maybe they won't believe it at all. Ling Xiao still intended to be cautious, especially when his strength wasn't enough. He couldn't be careless. Master is so thoughtful. The divine grimoire tilted his head and thought for a moment. He couldn't help but praise. Indeed, even if it's the truth, some people still won't believe it. It's right to be careful. By the way, Divine Grimoire, you are so strong now. Can you take us out? Ling Xiao asked. He was now eager to leave this place because he was worried about Ling Yan's safety and the safety of his friends and relatives outside. It was impossible for him to stay here with peace of mind. I'm afraid not, but Master, the 8 Immortals' old ancestor, must know the way out. Didn't you devour his inner demon? Let's look for it, the divine grimoire suggested, although a little disappointed. The divine grimoire's suggestion was right. The 8 Immortals' old ancestor sealed his inner demon here, so he must be able to get out. And there must be information about this in the inner demon's memory. So he calmed down and began to search. The inner demon's memory was extremely complicated. All the evil martial arts that the 8 Immortals' old ancestor had mastered were all imprinted in his mind. As long as he wanted to learn, he could learn it immediately. But at this moment, he was not in the mood to practice martial arts, so he continued to search. The divine grimoire stood aside, guarding Ling Xiao. In this pitch-black seabed, although it was strange that there was no water at all, they could still feel the existence of demonic beasts. He couldn't be careless. Got it. Finally, after half an hour of searching, Ling Xiao found a way to leave this place. That is, someone must be able to inherit the 8 Immortals' old ancestors' inheritance. The person who obtains the inheritance will not only have his cultivation greatly improved, but also be able to easily open a path to the outside world from here. The first person Ling Xiao thought of was Ling Yan. Obtaining the inheritance of the 8 Immortals' old ancestor would not only restore Ling Yan's cultivation, but also greatly improve it. It would also allow Ling Yan to get out of danger. This was the best choice for him. Master, you have to think carefully. Although the inheritance of the 8 Immortals' old ancestor is not as good as the tyrant martial spirit, it is still a very powerful inheritance. Are you really going to give it to him? Seeing Ling Xiao put Ling Yan on the ground, the divine grimoire couldn't help but say, "What's more, if his cultivation is stronger than yours, then Master may be in danger." Divine grimoire, I don't believe that a person who would give up his life to save me is that kind of person. No need to say more. I will give him the inheritance of the 8 Immortals' old ancestor. Ling Xiao said with certainty. In fact, the so-called inheritance of the 8 Immortals' old ancestor was only the inheritance of the evil face. That is, the evil inheritance of the 8 Immortals' old ancestor. But Ling Xiao had always believed that light and darkness were born together. If the shadow was forcefully removed, then it would be incomplete. He believed that the inheritance of the good face of the 8 Immortals' old ancestor was still on the 8 Immortals' mountain. As for whether Ling Yan could get it or not, it would depend on Ling Yan's luck. Chapter 2492. Ling Xiao began to understand why the higher-ups of 8 Immortal Mountain had trapped Ling Yan in the Demon Sea instead of killing him. It was probably for the inheritance of the face of good. This is great. Good and evil as one. This was the complete inheritance of the 8 Immortal Patriarchs. Seeing Ling Yan's body wrapped in black and white light, his cultivation base began to recover rapidly. Ling Xiao heaved a sigh of relief and began to study the things around him. The 8 bronze coffins were made of a special material fused with bronze. They were very sturdy and were comparable to the best divine-grade spiritual artifacts. They were even better than the 8 great treasures of 8 Immortal Mountain. As for the chains, they were even more powerful. They were made of an unknown material and were covered with inscriptions. If Ling Xiao could control them with a formation, they would be the key to his combat strength. Keep them all. After thinking about it, Ling Xiao kept the 8 bronze coffins and the 8 huge chains into the universe of Tyrant. Instead of using these things as tools, it would be more convenient to use them as martial spirits. The universe of Tyrant could transform everything into martial spirits. This was something that Ling Xiao had verified before. In the past, he could not control this transformation. However, after entering the reincarnation cycle, he could control this transformation. If he wanted to transform something into a martial spirit, he could do so. If he did not want to, he could choose not to. In this way, he did not even need a storage ring. The vast universe of Tyrant would become his largest storage space. After keeping the bronze coffins and the huge chains, Ling Xiao looked at the strange tombstones. Golem ghosts. Ling Xiao obtained this information from the memories of the inner demon. The golem ghosts were a kind of creature in the devil realm. When they were dormant, they could turn into stone statues. They could resist almost any attack, but could not fight back. This was the common definition. However, according to the spirit race, the golem ghosts were monsters condensed from souls. They had extremely strong soul power and could suppress the inner demon. The spirit race would often use the golem ghosts to increase the power of their demonic eyes. 1 leaf, 2 leaf, 3 leaf, 4 leaf, and the highest level, 5 leaf demonic eyes. It's been a long time since I last used my tri-leaf demonic eyes. Perhaps I can use this opportunity to level up. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao released the Tao Tai beast again and swallowed the 8 tombstones. Tao Chia's stomach was simply Ling Xiao's best furnace. The devil gargoyle was dissolved and digested, and a large amount of soul power poured into his spirit sea. Devil Qi condensed in his right eye. It took a full hour. The demonic eye with 3 leaves had finally been upgraded to 4 leaves. The 4-leaf demonic eyes possessed 4 terrifying abilities. The first was soul absorption, which Ling Xiao had often used in the past. It could confuse the enemy and cause the enemy to lose focus for a short period of time. As for those with weak soul power, their souls would directly collapse. The second type was soul seizing. As the name implied, it could directly seize the enemy's soul, either in whole or in part. Ling Xiao had never used this ability before. Because he wasn't familiar with it, he didn't dare to use it. But now that Mo Tong had leveled up, he was starting to understand the terror of soul snatching. The human body was made up of souls. The soul was the soul, and the body was the body. They almost represented all the qualities of a martial artist, including strength, stamina, observation, perception, wisdom, speed, and so on. If he could directly seize it and use it himself, what kind of scene would it be? The third type was also the ability Ling Xiao had used before, communication with another world. This ability was very powerful. If used well, it could often be used to win by surprise. Ling Xiao's communication with another world could already communicate with one of the 72 demon gods from another world. There was also the Bronze Giant. This ability would not only become stronger as the demonic eye leveled up, but it would also become stronger as Ling Xiao's soul power increased. The fourth ability was Ling Xiao's latest ability, but he couldn't use it for the time being because his cultivation wasn't strong enough. This ability could only be used as a decoration for the time being. But even so, when the 3-leaf demonic eyes had leveled up to the 4-leaf demonic eyes, whether it was soul absorption, soul seizing, or communication with another world, they had all been greatly improved. Ling Xiao felt that it was time for him to gradually reveal some of his past abilities. After all, he didn't use the 3-leaf demonic eyes much in the past, and it was very secretive. Now, as long as he was careful, he wouldn't arouse any suspicion. With the improvement of the demonic eyes and soul power, Ling Xiao's perception had also improved. He looked at the dark underground world in the distance, and the corner of his mouth suddenly raised into a sneer. Since Ling Yen couldn't recover for the time being, he could use these underground demon beasts to temper his martial skills. After all, he had only cultivated the second move of the shadow martial art. If he could successfully cultivate the third move, even if he encountered a martial artist at the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm's 5th level of hell, he wouldn't need the butterfly lady's soul to fight. After all, it was a top-tier jade grade martial skill, even if it was of inferior quality. But a top-tier martial skill was still a top-tier martial skill. Even the best high-tier martial skill couldn't compare to an inferior top-tier martial skill. Therefore, in the following time, Ling Xiao held the Black Immortal Sword and began to kill in this dark, underground world. In the midst of the slaughter, his martial skills continued to improve. Moreover, the connection between him and the Black Immortal Sword became even closer. Towards the end, whenever Ling Xiao held the Black Immortal Sword, a black figure would appear behind Ling Xiao. This figure should be the soul used to forge the Black Immortal Sword. It was said that in the past, in order to forge divine weapons, some blacksmiths would push people into the furnace to forge them. This Black Immortal Sword should be forged in such a way. This black figure was dressed in black, with a bamboo hat on its head and a black cloth on its face. When it appeared when Ling Xiao was fighting, all of Ling Xiao's moves seemed to have spirituality. Not only did his moves become more skillful, but their power also nearly doubled. Time flew by like a white steed passing through a crack. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. Ling Xiao's strength was steadily increasing. Not only did Sword Cry Yin Mountain and Sword Rend the Underworld reach the manifestation realm, but the two moves also reached the manifestation realm. Once he reached the manifestation realm, these two moves could be combined into one and used together, greatly increasing their power. Not only that, but the third move, Dark Slash, was finally cultivated and raised to the perfection stage. His cultivation also broke through again. In the process of devouring the underground demonic beasts, the energy gathered. It allowed his cultivation to reach the early stage of the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm's 5th level of hell. As a result, he didn't even need to fear the elders of the 8 Immortal Mountain. Coupled with the terrifying top-tier jade grade martial skill and the Black Immortal Sword, he was definitely very powerful in the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm's 5th level of hell. Unless one was at the peak of the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm's 5th level of hell, they would be defeated by him. Chapter 2493. Lin Yuetian and Feng Yun Jian Kuan. Everyone in 8 Immortal Mountain, listen up. If I, Ling Xiao, return to 8 Immortal Mountain and see my friends injured, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Ling Xiao pointed his sword at the sky. The breakthrough in his cultivation and the increase in his strength filled him with confidence. In 8 Immortal Mountain, Ling Xiao didn't care about anyone other than the old guys who were at level 6 of Yin Yang Realm and Lin Yuetian. I hope some people don't be stupid. Otherwise, I, Ling Xiao, won't retreat like I did when I went to the Sword Tribe. I swear, I'll make everyone who goes against me pay the price. Ling Xiao was prepared to continue cultivating for a period of time, since he had nothing to do anyway. Suddenly, a powerful aura came from afar. Ling Xiao looked over in shock. Ling Yan had already stood up from the intertwining black and white light. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 6th level of hell of the Yin-Yang realm. How terrifying! The two inheritances of the 8 immortals merged into one. Not only did Ling Yan recover his cultivation, but it also increased his strength by a lot. Boss! It was said that men shouldn't kneel easily. However, Ling Yan knelt down now. He was much stronger than Ling Xiao, but he still knelt down without hesitation. Although he was very weak and couldn't speak previously, he still knelt down. However, he naturally understood everything that Ling Xiao had done. Ling Xiao had given him the inheritance of the 8 immortals. Most people wouldn't be able to do this, no matter what. He was willing to kneel down to Ling Xiao because of this. Moreover, Ling Xiao had risked his life to break into ghost prison to save him. If not for that, Ling Xiao wouldn't have ended up like this. Get up, Ling Yan. I gave you the inheritance because it doesn't suit me. Ling Xiao didn't have the good face inheritance. If he only had the evil face inheritance, it wouldn't mean much. However, Ling Yan was different. The combination of the two inheritances could allow Ling Yan's cultivation to increase rapidly. Even if he reached the rebirth realm, the energy in his body would still exist. In other words, Ling Yan's cultivation speed would be on par with his from today until he reached the rebirth realm. No matter what, this is what you gave me. If not for you, I wouldn't be able to get it. Ling Yan shook his head. I'm grateful that you're grateful. Let's go back to 8 Immortal Mountain and clear your grievances. It's time to re-establish the order of 8 Immortal Mountain. Ling lightly patted Ling's shoulder. Ling Yan's actions proved that Ling Xiao had not misjudged him. Yes. Ling Yan nodded. Then, Ling Yan used the special method of the patriarchs of the 8 immortals to open a portal to the surface from the depths of the earth. This portal could only be opened by the 8 immortals. Of course, those who had his complete inheritance and martial spirit could also do it. And Ling Yan was such a person. Stepping into the portal, Ling Xiao took a deep breath. This fall into the deep sea was a blessing in disguise. Ling Yan had obtained the inheritance of the 8 immortals, and he had obtained the power of the inner demon. This was the reason why his strength and martial skills had improved so quickly. The inner demon was a kind of soul power. It was just that it was more evil. However, after being devoured by the Tao Tai giant beast and the sky tyrant martial spirit, it had become the purest soul power in Ling Xiao's body. His wisdom, perception, and spirit attributes had all been greatly improved. Now, with the divine codex and Ling Yan, Ling Xiao believed that no one could provoke him in the 8 Immortals County. That was why he didn't let Ling Yan disguise himself and kept his original appearance. They were back to collect their debts. They didn't need to be afraid of anyone. After coming out of the portal, they were directly facing the exit of the 5th level of the ghost prison. There were still 8 guards at the exit. These 8 guards were from the 8 great clans. Although they had changed people, their cultivation was still at the peak of the 3rd level of the Yin-Yang realm. In the past, Ling Xiao would have thought highly of them, but now they were not worth mentioning in Ling Xiao's eyes. Who's there? 3 people suddenly walked out of the teleportation array, which made the hearts of the 8 guards tighten. When the 3 people got closer, their shock became even more exaggerated. Ling Xiao, Ling Yan. Both of them were the most wanted criminals in the 8 Immortals Mountain. They actually appeared here at the same time. Other than the blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, they were all too familiar with the other 2. But how was this possible? Ling Xiao and Ling Yan had fallen into the demon sea for almost 10 days. How could they still be alive? One had to know that no one had ever returned alive after falling into the demon sea, especially after so many days. Was this a dream? Although I don't know why you're still alive. Since you're alive, you should run for your lives. You're actually stupid enough to come back to die. You two really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Perhaps because they let Ling Xiao go, the guards that Ling Xiao was familiar with had all been replaced. Now these 8 people were absolutely hostile to Ling Xiao. Don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Ling Xiao sneered and suddenly took a step forward. Before the 8 people could see his figure clearly, one of them was lifted up by the neck. Don't move. Obediently answer my questions, and I can spare your lives. After all, you're just gatekeepers. Ling Xiao's voice was cold and murderous. If the other party dared not to listen to him, he would really kill them. What do you want to ask? The person who was choked by Ling Xiao asked with difficulty. Ling Xiao let go of his hand so that the other party could breathe more freely. Kill him. As soon as the person was let go, he roared. The other 7 people moved at the same time and rushed toward Ling Xiao. You dare to hurt my master. You're courting death. Ling Xiao hadn't made a move yet, but Xin Dian was already furious. Her slender jade hand gently pointed. The 7 people all turned into people on fire. They fell to the ground with painful howls and instantly turned into ashes. Don't kill me," the only remaining person shouted in horror. "Tell me the question I want to answer, and I can naturally spare your life." Ling Xiao said indifferently, I'll talk, I'll tell you everything." This person was truly frightened. That blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl clearly looked so beautiful and innocent, but when she killed people, she was actually so tyrannical. Moreover, her strength was so terrifying. He finally understood why Ling Xiao dared to come back. He had found a backer. "Is the 8 Immortals Mountain looking for us?" Ling Xiao asked. "Yes, including you, Ling Yan and Yi Chen Wuxing. You've all become the highest level of wanted criminals. No matter when or where, without reporting, they can use any means to kill you." That person replied, Good. How are my friends?" Chapter 2494. The remaining guards on the 5th floor of the ghost prison were afraid of the divine grimoire, so they didn't dare to miss a single question from Ling Xiao. "Your courtyard is protected by a powerful array. Even the sect master couldn't break it. However, it's in danger now and won't last for more than a few days. In order to protect them, Lin Ruoxian fought with the young sect master and was severely injured. The young sect master even said that he wanted to give him to Mo Feiyu." Mo Feiyu? Ling Xiao had almost forgotten this name. He was one of the top geniuses of the 8 Immortal Mountain and the first person that Ling Xiao hated. If not for Lin Ruoxian's protection, he would have been killed by Mo Feiyu. Later on, Mo Feiyu didn't take action because he had Mo Feiyu's father's life in his hands. However, it seemed that Mo Feiyu thought that he was dead, so he wanted to marry Lin Ruoxian to take revenge on Lin Ruoxian. "You're courting death." Ling Xiao knew that Mo Feiyu's strength wasn't much higher than Lin Ruoxian's. Perhaps in the past, Ling Xiao was afraid of him, but now he could kill him as easily as killing a chicken or a lamb. "What else?" Ling Xiao asked again. "Your sister, Ling Jiaojiao, was also forced to marry Jian Lufeng again. The wedding will be held on the same day in the Sword Tribe. You came back at the right time because the wedding is today. The Sword Tribe really doesn't give up. However, today I'll turn their wedding into a funeral." Ling Xiao was filled with killing intent. Mo Feiyu is from the Moon Tribe. Why is he holding the wedding in the Sword Tribe? There's no Moon Tribe anymore. In order to protect Ling Jiaojiao and high invisibility, the Moon Tribe was besieged by the 7 great clans. In addition, Mo Feiyu betrayed them. Now, they're all imprisoned in the 8 Immortal Mountains dungeon before they could be transferred to the Demon Sea region. I didn't expect the Moon Tribe to be so loyal. I'm surprised. Ling Xiao originally thought that Ling Jiaojiao was sent to the Sword Tribe because the Moon Tribe didn't dare to be enemies with the Sword Tribe. Now it seemed that he had guessed wrongly. But don't worry, as long as I, Ling Xiao, am here, your Yu clan will definitely not be exterminated. What made him feel gratified was that the people of the Yu clan were basically all locked up in the dungeon and not immediately executed. Perhaps the sect leader wanted to show his justice, so he decided to publicly judge and punish these people. But no matter what, it gave him a chance to repay his kindness. Kill him. After Ling Xiao asked what he wanted to know, he didn't intend to keep this person around, because the reason why those guards attacked was because of this fellow's instigation. "No, you promised not to kill me." The guard shouted in horror. "I only promised you that I wouldn't kill you. I didn't say that I couldn't let others kill you." Ling Xiao revealed a cold smile and walked out of the 5th floor of the ghost prison. Without saying a word, Ling Yan grabbed the guard. In the blink of an eye, the guard turned into a dried corpse. In fact, the 8 great clans had all inherited the 8 abilities of the 8 Immortals. No matter how the clans changed, their abilities wouldn't change. And Ling Yan had all the inheritances and martial souls of the 8 Immortals. So he had all 8 abilities. What he used just now was the Sand Clan's ability. Not long after that day, the Sword Clan acted as if nothing had happened. Today it was decorated with lanterns and colored banners again, and it was even livelier than before. Last time, when Jian Lufeng married Ling Jiaojiao, the other clans only sent their elders. This time, other than the Yu clan, all the 8 great clans sent their clan leaders to participate, and all the mountain leaders of the 8 Immortal Mountain had arrived. The mountain leader of the Black Immortal Mountain had changed. He was a shriveled old man who didn't speak much and only cared about eating peanuts. The reason why it was so grand this time was mainly because it wasn't a wedding today. It was 2, other than Jian Lufeng marrying Ling Jiaojiao. Mo Feiyu was also marrying Lin Ruoxian, and the person presiding over their wedding was actually the young sect leader, Lin Yuetian. Although the young sect leader hadn't arrived yet, he probably wouldn't miss such a lively day. In addition, the Yu clan was destroyed, and everyone was either dead or captured. The Sword Clan could be considered to have shown their might in this battle, and many people also gave them face. Originally, Jian Lufeng and Ling Jiaojiao's wedding should have been held more than 10 days ago. Once the wedding was over, Jian Lufeng and Ling Jiaojiao would be able to give birth to a genius with the bloodline of the Saber Sword Divine Emperor. At that time, if carefully nurtured, his talent might even be above Jian Liufeng's. Of course, no one cared about Ling Jiaojiao's life or death. Last time, Ling Xiao, Yi Wuxing, and the others had ruined the wedding. So this time, the Sword Clan's clan leader, Jian Kuan, specially chose an auspicious day, thinking that nothing would happen today. How could something happen? Yi Wuxing escaped. Ling Xiao died. The remaining henchmen of Ling Xiao weren't even worth mentioning, so they weren't worried about anything. Jian Kuan and Jian Ruchao were welcoming guests from all over the place. These guests didn't just come from inside the 8 Immortals Mountain, but also from outside. All the famous people in the 8 Immortals County had arrived, and there were even people from the provincial capital. It was said that even the Chun Kingdom's royal family had sent 2 congratulatory gifts. Although the royal family didn't come to participate, it was already very impressive to have a congratulatory gift. Compared to Jian Kuan and Jian Ruchao, who were talking and laughing, the group of people sitting in the corner appeared to be cautious and submissive. In this group of people, there were people from the Lin clan, represented by Lin Yuan. They were Lin Ruoxian's maiden family, and they were considered to be famous in the 8 Immortals County, so they didn't lose face. But Lin Ruoxian's injuries hadn't healed yet, and she was about to marry Mo Feiyu, and it was obviously forced. This made everyone in the Lin clan angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. In addition to them, there was another group of people, Ling Yuhua and the others from Yuhua town. They had been deceived. The people from the 8 Immortals Mountain had told them that Ling Xiao was going to marry, and they had even forged a letter to lure them out of Yuhua town, and then kidnap them here. Last time, Ling Jiaojiao's maiden family wasn't present, and people had criticized them. So this time, the Sword Clan had prepared everything. Ling Yuhua wasn't weak. With the good things that Ling Xiao had given to the Ling clan, he had cultivated to the peak of the 3rd level of the Yinyang realm. With his current strength, he was naturally much stronger than before. But compared to the people present, it wasn't worth mentioning. So, everyone looked at him with disdain and mockery. Ling Yuhua didn't feel good about it. I don't know why the Sword Clan wants Jian Lufeng to marry Ling Jiaojiao. She's just the descendant of a country bumpkin. What's so special about her? Look at her grandfather. He's just like a country farmer. Hee, you don't know this, right? Ling Jiaojiao has awakened the sword saber Shen Huang martial soul. If the Sword Clan wants to obtain this bloodline, they have to let her marry Jian Lufeng. Yuhua Town's Ling clan will probably soar to the sky if they get involved with the Sword Clan. Chapter 2495. You only know one thing, but not the other. The Sword Tribe wants the bloodline of the Sword Blade Divine Emperor. Once she gives birth to a child, her martial soul and bloodline will be transferred. Then, Ling Jiaojiao will be a piece of trash. It's better if she dies. I'm just afraid that she will be treated like trash and imprisoned in a small black room for the rest of her life. What's there to be envious about? Sure. Lower your voice. You don't dare to say such things. So what if I say it? I'm not a piece of trash like that old man. My granddaughter is about to be killed and I don't even dare to say anything. It's quite embarrassing. How could Ling Yuhua not hear such a conversation? But what could he do? Even a genius like Ling Xiao had been killed, so what did he amount to? He didn't want his granddaughter to be killed. But as long as he dared to say a word, all the Ling clan members who came with him would die. Ling Yuhua, don't listen to the nonsense of those despicable people. If you do as we say obediently, I'll guarantee your Ling family's safety and wealth. Originally, Jian Kuan should be addressing them as in-laws. But how could he, who looked down on them, address them that way? He directly called Ling Yuhua by his name, completely acting high and mighty. Ling Yuhua clenched his teeth as his heart bled. It was this 8 immortal mountain that destroyed their Ling family's hope and even humiliated his granddaughter. He touched his storage ring gently. There was a large amount of thunderfire power bombs that Ling Xiao gave him. Although he couldn't kill these sons of bitches, he could drag a few sword tribe members down with him. Ling Yuhua wouldn't be afraid to see Ling Xiao in the underworld. Maybe he didn't treat Ling Xiao as a family member in the past. However, as time passed, the situation developed, and everything that Ling Xiao had done to the Ling family, even Ling Yuhua, who had a heart of steel, was affected by this. In his heart, Ling Xiao was his grandson. No matter if Ling Xiao admitted it or not, he could die for Ling Xiao. The reason why he was cheated this time was because of Ling Xiao, but it was a pity that Ling Xiao was already dead. Moreover, he died without a complete corpse. No, it should be said that he didn't even have a corpse. He couldn't save Ling Xiao, but before he died he had to do something. A man couldn't possibly be too cowardly. That would be too useless. I'm sorry, Jiao Jiao. Grandfather can't save you. Ling Yuhua looked at the woman with a red veil on the wedding stage and sighed helplessly. He had seen Ling Jiao Jiao before. These days, Ling Jiao Jiao's silence was frightening. Ling Ao Jiao Ling. There was no light in Ling Jiao Jiao's eyes. They were like dead ashes. That kind of gaze made people think of a walking corpse. It was simply not a living person. However, Jian Lufeng didn't care. Anyway, he only wanted a child, not Ling Jiao Jiao. So what if Ling Jiao Jiao didn't like him? He had ways to prevent her from committing suicide. Ling Jiao Jiao was still being controlled by the love goo. She was being controlled like a puppet. She couldn't do anything. This was the sad part of being weak. They couldn't even choose how to live or die. The auspicious time has arrived. Just as everyone was pointing and commenting on the 2 newlyweds on the stage, the MC shouted at the top of his voice, "The 2 newlyweds are coming out. Let's start the wedding ceremony." The first to walk out were 2 young heroes. One was Jian Lufeng and the other was Mo Feiyu. Their cultivation and looks were similar. They were both top-notch handsome men. Oh right, Mo Feiyu had already defected to the Sword Tribe and adopted Jian Kuan as his godfather. Hence, he was called Jian Feiyu. This traitor of the Moon Clan had become an even more dazzling bridegroom in a grand and imposing manner. The 2 grooms were both wearing red robes with majestic lions embroidered on them. Under their dashing attire, they exuded a cold aura. The moment the 2 of them appeared, screams could be heard from below the stage. Those crazy women couldn't resist the charm of these 2 young men. They were young, powerful, and they had the Sword Tribe behind them. No matter in which aspect, they were top-notch. At least in the 8 Immortal City, being able to marry them was definitely the dream of many women. The grooms came out. Then the brides were helped out. The first bride was Ling Jiao Jiao. Her movements were stiff. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that she was being controlled. The second bride was Lin Ruoxian. She was actually sitting in a wheelchair. It was obvious that her injuries hadn't fully recovered and were still very serious. These 2 brides could be said to be strange. Many people could tell that there was a problem, but they didn't dare to say anything. Because this was the Eight Immortals Mountain. This was the Sword Tribe. They didn't want to offend powerful enemies. Ling Jiao, just accept your fate. After more than 10 years, you're still mine. Ling Shao, who stood up for you, is dead. He escaped invisibly. Who else can help you? Don't worry, I'll be gentle tonight so that you won't be in too much pain. After all, you still have to give birth to a baby for the Sword Tribe. Ha ha ha. Jian Lufeng laughed very proudly. Ling Shao was dead. Ling Jiao had no choice but to submit. What a wonderful thing. Although the Moon Tribe had delayed the wedding until now to protect Ling Jiao. But what was the use of delaying? Everything would end today. Ling Jiao's heart was dead. The only thing she wanted to do now was to take revenge. Revenge for her brother. Revenge for herself. However, she had to wait for an opportunity. Tonight might be the best time to kill Jian Lufeng. On the other side, Mo Feiyu. Oh no, it should be Jian Feiyu. He also cast a cold gaze at Lin Ruoxian. Lin Ruoxian, are you in despair? Back then, you were my enemy because of that kid. You didn't expect to become my woman today, right? I'm not as kind as Jian Lufeng. I'll let you live in torture. Don't worry, you won't die. You'll only suffer more. Ling Shao is dead. You'll pay for his debt. Lin Ruoxian's mouth twitched. Her eyes were filled with anger. But all of this was meaningless. She hated the heavens. Why was it so unfair? Why did it let these evildoers rule? Ru Chao, after the wedding. Get rid of those people from Yuhua town. By then, they'll be useless. On the seat of honor, Jian Kuan actually said to Jian Ruchao, who was standing beside him, not sure if it was intentional, but this voice reached Ling Jiao and Ling Yuhua's ears. He wanted to torture these two people. Let these two know that they were going to die, but there was nothing they could do. Jian Kuan, you beast! Finally, Ling Yuhua couldn't take it anymore. He originally planned to fight to the death after the other people from Yuhua town left. But now, Jian Kuan actually told Jian Ruchao to kill all of them. How could he bear it? He stood up like a madman. Since he was going to die anyway, he had nothing to be afraid of. Chapter 2496. How dare you? Hold him down. Jian Kuan sneered and ordered someone to hold Ling Yuhua down. He even took off the storage ring on Ling Yuhua's hand. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? There should be something in your storage ring. Without it, what else can you do? Just wait for your death, old man. You can only blame yourself for being too weak. Jian Kuan's smile was smug and proud, as if there was nothing wrong with what he had done. It was not that he was too cruel, but that the other party was too weak and too useless. Ah! Ling Yuhua looked up to the sky and sighed. Despair burned his heart, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. He was about to kill himself on the steps. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky. It directly landed on the wedding stage. Boom! This bolt of lightning not only stopped the wedding that was in progress, it also scared Jian Kuan and the others to the side. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the lightning. A figure appeared in the bolt of lightning. Someone dared to cause trouble in the Sword Tribe? Who dared to cause trouble in the Eight Immortal Mountain? Who was it? Who are you? How dare you break into the Sword Tribe? Jian Kuan instantly recovered. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's as he looked at the bolt of lightning. Under the bolt of lightning, smoke filled the air. For a moment, no one could see who it was. He's back! Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted. The shout came from Lin Yang. All of Ling Zhao's friends, who had been hiding in the courtyard, came out. Today, they did not want to be cowards. Ling Xiao was already dead. They wanted to protect Ling Zhao's sister, Ling Jiao and Lin Ruoxian. Originally, they were all prepared to die. They all disguised themselves and hid in the crowd, waiting for an opportunity to make a move. However, Lin Yang's voice made him the most eye-catching person in the crowd. However, no one recognized him or was interested in who he was. Everyone wanted to know who he was talking about. Who else? Of course it's Ling Shao. Who else, do you think, has the guts to break into the sword tribe? Lin Yang said excitedly, although he didn't see who was behind the lightning. Lin Yang believed that it was his boss Ling Shao. Ha 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 ha. What a joke. Ling Shao fell into the demon sea. The young master and the elder of the dark ones saw it with their own eyes. Does he know how to bring the dead back to life? Jian Kuan looked up to the sky and laughed out loud, feeling that this was the biggest joke in the world. Is it so laughable that I'm alive? Suddenly a voice sounded. This caused Jian Kuan, who was laughing heartily, to stop abruptly. He seemed to be in a daze as he stiffly turned around and looked at the figure standing there. Everyone was stunned. Ling Xiao's death was known to everyone a few days ago, and Feng Yan couldn't wait to announce Ling Xiao's death. He claimed that Ling Xiao had tried to save the traitor Ling Yan and was killed by him. However, today Ling Xiao was standing there, alive and well. What was going on? Are you a human or a ghost? Among the people present, the most shocked was none other than Dark Flower. Back then, she had almost been killed by Ling Xiao. Fortunately, she had escaped quickly. At that time, she had seen Ling Xiao fall into the demon sea with her own eyes. When I meet a human, I'm a human. When I meet a ghost, I'm naturally a ghost. Ling Xiao looked at Dark Flower contemptuously and said, It seems that your injuries have basically healed. It's a pity that I didn't kill you back then. It's a pity that I didn't kill you back then. Then he looked at Ling Jiaojiao and Lin Ruoxian as if there was no one around. Two pitiful women. One was seriously injured and couldn't move. The other was imprisoned by soul power like a marionette. Ling Yuhua, who was in his hand, had completely changed from despair to ecstasy. He thought he had fallen into hell, but when he opened his eyes, he found himself in heaven. That kind of joy was indescribable with words. Old man, you acted like a man just now, but it's still too early for you to die. Ling Xiao smiled at him and activated his four-leaf demonic eyes. In just an instant, the soul power that had imprisoned Ling Jiaojiao was broken. The moment Ling Jiaojiao was rescued, she didn't care about everyone's gazes and actually threw herself at Ling Xiao while crying. His warm and strong arms made her finally feel the warmth of spring. Her lifeless eyes were suddenly filled with boundless vitality, becoming like a pool of autumn water. You bad boy. You bad boy. I knew you didn't die. You didn't die. Ling Jiaojiao almost choked with sobs. The sound of her wailing could be heard clearly in the entire Sword Tribe's courtyard. She was venting. She was venting. Only in this man's arms could she obtain a moment of peace and safety. Ling Xiao didn't stop Ling Jiaojiao from crying. What kind of torture did this strong girl go through during this period of time? He could imagine. Ling Xiao. Lin Ruoxian's barely able to speak words actually managed to squeeze out a few words. Her eyes were already brimming with tears. I'm sorry. I couldn't protect your sister. Lin Ruoxian was still blaming herself. In order to protect Ling Jiaojiao, she was severely injured by Lin Yuetian. Yet, she still blamed herself for not doing her duty. Ling Xiao cried. This man who didn't like to cry couldn't withstand this touching and heartbreaking feeling. He grabbed Ling Jiaojiao's hand and walked to Lin Ruoxian's side, hugging the proud and touching girl in his arms. No, you're not responsible. I didn't do well. Ling Xiao's tears began to burn at this moment, turning into a raging fire. It was anger and killing intent. It was anger that was about to erupt. Before he came back, he said that he would take the life of anyone who dared to hurt his friends and family. Now, it was time to fulfill his promise. I don't care if you're a human or a ghost. Since you dared to disturb our wedding today, don't even think about getting out of here alive. Jian Lufeng said angrily. Jian Lufeng and Jian Feiyu recovered from the shock, especially when they saw their bride in the arms of another man. They were so angry that their teeth were chattering. That's right. Ling Xiao, It's time to end the grudge between us. Jian Feiyu looked at Ling Xiao with a strong killing intent. However, Ling Xiao ignored them and looked at Jian Kuan instead. Jian Kuan, you old dog. I said that I would destroy the family of anyone who dared to provoke my sister. It seems that you didn't take my words seriously. At this moment, Ling Xiao wished that he was a demon without emotions. He only wanted to kill. Kill until the sky turned dark. Kill until the ground was covered in blood. Because he was too angry. Killing 1 or 2 people couldn't quell his anger. How dare you? Kid, last time, you had Yi Tianqing to back you up and let you escape. But this time, you dare to make trouble again. I'd like to see who can help you. Chapter 2497. Jian Kuan really couldn't understand. He Wuxing had already been beaten out of 8 Immortal Mountain. With Ling Xiao's strength, how could he dare to cause trouble here? He looked coldly at Ling Xiao, and there was actually some fear in his heart. This was because Ling Xiao never played by the rules, so he didn't dare to attack rashly. I'll deal with the matter of the mountain, Lord, later. The dignified 8 Immortals Mountain had forced the strongest Grand Elder to rebel, and the most outstanding and talented disciple to have no way out. It was truly a great feat. However, this was also normal. Even a traitor like Mo Feiyu could be treated as a delicious cake. The 8 Immortal Mountain was really a bunch of rascals now. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a laughable scandal like forced marriage twice. They even used something like the love goo. Ling Xiao didn't seem to see Jian Kuan, Jian Lufeng, and Mo Feiyu's murderous gazes as he continued to speak. Before he took action, he wanted to announce his reason for doing so to let the guests here know. Let the Chun Nation's royal family know. As for how they saw it and whether they believed him or not, that was another matter. Even those who rebelled had to find a legitimate reason for themselves. Not to mention that Ling Xiao himself had a legitimate reason. Ling Xiao's words caused the audience below the stage to buzz with discussion. This was because many people could see that something was wrong with Ling Jiao, and they could also see Lin Ruoxian's unwillingness. However, they didn't dare to say it, and they weren't sure. Now that Ling Xiao had directly exposed this layer of window paper, they naturally wouldn't care. Hearing the discussion below, the expressions of everyone in 8 Immortal Mountain changed drastically. Some lowered their heads in shame. However, most of them were livid and furious, especially the people from the Sword Tribe. They were the first to bear the brunt of Ling Xiao's criticism. However, perhaps because they had already made a fool of themselves before, the shameless Sword Tribe didn't care anymore. He knew that there were some people below who were prepared to watch a show. In that case, he would directly kill Ling Xiao and completely end this farce. Hee. I've long heard that the 8 Immortals Mountain has an arrogant and unruly disciple who once caused a huge commotion in the sword race. I didn't believe it before, but now it seems like it's true. That's right. To think that the sword race announced that Ling Xiao and Dark Knight Formless were chased away by them. I think there's something fishy about this. It doesn't matter if there's something fishy about him. Let's see how the sword race will deal with this matter today. If something goes wrong, not only will they lose face, even the 8 Immortal Mountain will lose face. Haha, interesting. I wonder how long that Ling Xiao can last. I hope he's not a guy who's all brawn and no brains. Otherwise, it would be too boring. There were many people who didn't mind watching the show. They didn't want to help anyone. They just wanted to watch the show. What a load of nonsense. Do you think the heroes of the world will believe you? You're now a wanted criminal of the 8 Immortals Mountain. You've been expelled from the sect. Whoever can kill you today is a hero of the 8 Immortals Mountain. Since you insist on courting death, then don't blame us for taking action. Jian Kuan knew that he couldn't let Ling Xiao go today. No matter what, he had to kill this guy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the face to go out and see people in the future. That's right. Ling Xiao and Dark Knight Formless are traitors of the 8 Immortals Mountain. They were originally spies of the enemy who hid in the 8 Immortals Mountain. They harmed several people of the Dark Race, Sword Race, and Sand Race. Today, they actually dare to cause trouble and spout nonsense. This is simply unforgivable. Brother Jian, do you want us to help you get rid of them? To comfort the dead of the 8 Immortals Mountain. At this time, the Dark Race's patriarch and Yexing also spoke. He even labeled Ling Xiao as a spy. Anyway, Ling Xiao had already been labeled as a traitor. He didn't care what label he put on Ling Xiao. See, this is the truth, Jian Kuan said loudly. Then, he gave Jian Lufeng a look. Jian Lufeng naturally understood. He had wanted to kill Ling Xiao for a long time. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao had the protection of Dark Knight Formless. Later, he went missing. This made him unable to find an opportunity. Now, Ling Xiao was standing less than 3 meters away from him. As long as he attacked, Ling Xiao would die without a doubt. A terrifying aura was released. Jian Lufeng didn't hide his killing intent. This caused those who were watching the show to feel somewhat dispirited. With Jian Lufeng attacking, Ling Xiao can't be saved. This show ends here. That's not necessarily true. Maybe that kid has some other tricks. I heard that he's very good at using arrays. No matter how good an array is, without time to prepare, it's useless in the face of an expert. Among these people, there were many who hated Ling Xiao. For example, the Scarlet Immortal Mountain's leader, Qi Lian, had 2 daughters who died in the hands of Ling Xiao. Her most outstanding disciple, Desert Cloud, had also died in the hands of Ling Xiao. There was also the Sand Race's expert, Saren. His sons, Sand Eagle and Sand Ocean, had both been killed by Ling Xiao. Now that the 2 of them were sitting together, they couldn't wait to skin Ling Xiao alive. The reason why they couldn't do it before was because Dark Knight Formless and Ling Xiao was a Dark Race martial artist. But now it was different. Ling Xiao had become a traitor of the entire 8 Immortal Mountain. Both of them wanted Ling Xiao dead. This was something that wouldn't change. Relax, Qi Lian. Today, I'll personally take action and kill that Ling Xiao. Saren stood up and said to Qi Lian. Initially, Qi Lian wanted to kill Ling Xiao, but she didn't expect that Ling Xiao's strength would rise so quickly. It had only been slightly more than a month since Ling Xiao joined the 8 Immortal Mountain. But Ling Xiao could even kill a dark gold expert. Qi Lian didn't think she was a match for him, but Saren could. Brother Lin, that kid is very cunning. You have to be careful. Qi Lian reminded him. It's fine. Don't you know my cultivation level? I'm at the peak of the 4th level of the Yin-Yang realm. 10 days ago, Ling Xiao was only at the peak of the 3rd level of the Yin-Yang realm. If I can't even kill him, I'm too useless. It's true that he's a genius. It's true that he's a monster. But I can take his life in one move. Saren confidently walked towards Ling Xiao and then said to Jian Kuan, Clan head Jian Kuan, this bastard once killed 2 of my sons. This enmity is absolutely irreconcilable. I hope that clan head can grant me this wish and allow me to kill this bastard. All right, since Brother Lin is so eager to get rid of this evil for the 8 Immortal Mountain, you can do it. Jian Kuan was also cunning. He didn't know what Ling Xiao was plotting, but since Saren proposed to deal with Ling Xiao, he had to agree. In this way, no matter what Ling Xiao was plotting, Saren would know once he took action. It wouldn't be too late to think of a way to deal with it later. Jian Lufeng was smart and naturally thought of this. Saren, this idiot. Since he's so willing to be a lab rat, I'll fulfill his wish. He sneered and withdrew his killing intent. He was ready to watch the show. Thank you, Clan Leader Jian Kuan. Chapter 2498. Sha Lin was elated. If Jian Kuan did not agree, he could not do anything. But now, he finally had the chance to kill Ling Xiao openly. Not only would he not be punished, but he could also become the hero of the 8 Immortal Mountain. Ling Xiao, leave quickly. You don't have to care about us. It doesn't matter if we die, but if you die, no one will avenge us. At this moment, Ling Yuhua seemed to have reacted. He did not believe that Ling Xiao could go against the entire 8 Immortal Mountain. From the initial surprise to the current panic, he had really become someone who cared deeply about his children. "My good brother, leave quickly. Listen to your grandfather." Ling Jiaojiao heard Ling Yuhua's words and immediately reacted. Now was not the time to be happy. The enemy was still there, and they were very powerful. Ling Xiao alone could not do anything. "Go. Leave quickly." Lin Ruoxian was so anxious that he wanted to get down from the wheelchair. She was also very worried, because Ling Xiao was not only facing the Sword Tribe, but the entire 8 Immortal Mountain. Lin Yuetian was probably coming soon. That guy was vicious and merciless. Once he set his sights on Ling Xiao, it would be over. "Leave? Can he leave?" Jian Kuan sneered and immediately ordered, "Listen to my orders. Activate the defensive array and guard all the exits. Don't let this guy escape. Since he's here, he can forget about flying out. No need to be so busy." Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, "I won't leave. Since I, Ling Xiao, am here, I don't plan to escape. Even if I want to leave, I'll take them with me openly." He smiled and then took out 10 alchemy formation stones to protect Lin Ruoxian, Ling Jiaojiao, and Ling Yuhua. When they fought later, it was inevitable that there would be energy waves. He did not want to hurt his own people. Moreover, the 3 of them did not have much combat power. If they were threatened, it would be very troublesome. That was why he chose to appear here. "Ling Xiao, how dare you talk nonsense there? Back then, you killed my 2 sons and Scarlet Lotus Mountain Master's 2 daughters. You're incomparably vicious. I can't attack you because you're a disciple of the 8 Immortals Mountain. It's not because I'm afraid of you. Since you've delivered yourself to my doorstep today, I'll let you die with a clear understanding." Sarlin suddenly sped up and released his aura. A long sword had already appeared in his hand. The 9 black suns behind his back emitted a terrifying light amidst the yellow sand. They deserved to die. They deserved to die, and their deaths were not enough to be regretted. "You didn't have to die, but now you're here to die." Ling Xiao sneered. He didn't even use his sword. He didn't do anything. He just stood there and looked at Saren with disdain and indifference. "You're courting death." Saren was even angrier at being looked down upon. The terrifying black sun's light fused into the long sword in his hand, and the entire courtyard emitted ghostly wails and howls. This sword was incomparably powerful. It made people tremble with fear. The sword light shot out, aiming straight for Ling Xiao's throat. "Black Sun 9 strikes." Saren shouted angrily and used all his strength. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao, so he didn't want to hold back. Seeing this scene, Ling Xiao's friends, who were disguised in the crowd, broke out in cold sweat. They didn't know how strong Ling Xiao was now, but Saren's attack was really too powerful. Those who were watching the show were all wondering how Ling Xiao would die on the spot. "You're just a frog in a well. How pathetic. Are you playing house?" Ling Xiao sneered sarcastically. Then he clapped his hands. The originally flat ground suddenly protruded, and a bronze coffin without a lid sprang out from it. A hole was torn in the sky, and the lid of the coffin fell from above. When Ling Xiao clapped his hands, Saren felt the danger, but he couldn't do anything. He was trapped by the coffin in an instant. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't get out. The bronze coffin fell to the ground, and there were still sounds of struggling coming from inside. This scene made countless people dumbfounded. "This is impossible. What the hell is going on?" Red Viper stood up with a look of horror. Looking at the bronze coffin, his heart was terrified to the extreme. Saren was trapped just like that? How did that guy do it? Could it be that he broke through again? Jian Lufeng also frowned and looked at this scene in surprise. Although he could also defeat Saren, it was definitely not so easy. It would take at least 5 moves, but Ling Xiao actually did it in 1 move. He couldn't help but worry about this, but at the same time his killing intent towards Ling Xiao became even stronger, because if he continued to let Ling Xiao live, he really didn't know how terrifying Ling Xiao could become. Ling Jiaojiao, Lin Ruoxian, and Ling Yuhua, who were under protection, were even more dumbfounded. Lin Ruoxian was the one who knew Saren's strength the best. Although he was inferior to her, it was also absolutely impossible to be such a good-for-nothing. Moreover, that attack, just now, even she had to deal with it carefully too. But Ling Xiao finished off the other party so effortlessly. Peak of the 4th level of hell, is it? Looks like Ling Xiao, he became stronger again. This guy is really creating miracles, continuously. Lin Ruoxian's gaze was filled with love and admiration, while Ling Jiaojiao and Ling Yuhua felt incomparably proud. Little thief, you better hurry up and let Brother Saren go. Otherwise, I'll make you die without a burial ground. Jian Kuan was also taken aback with fright. Ling Xiao, this guy's actions and deeds really made people unable to fathom. But Saren absolutely could not die here. Otherwise, where would his sword clan's face go? Are you farting? Ling Xiao gave Jian Kuan a contemptuous glance and said, Do you think that I don't know what you were thinking about just now? You're afraid that I still have a follow-up move, so you deliberately let that Saren come up to court death. What a shrewd move. Unfortunately, that idiot Saren didn't even know that he was being used. Everyone, don't listen to this guy's nonsense. He's trying to sow discord, Jian Kuan said loudly in a panic. Don't worry, we naturally won't be so discord by him. However, this farce should end soon. Saren should still be alive. Quickly kill that Ling Xiao. Perhaps he can still be saved. Sha Tongtian, the San clan's elder, said coldly. As he spoke, he had already stood up. As an elder of the San clan, Sha Tongtian was naturally much stronger than Saren. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 5th level of the Yinyang realm. If he attacked, Ling Xiao would naturally die. Sha Tongtian, let me handle this guy. Hidden Flower slowly stood up and said to Sha Tongtian, This guy is originally a disciple of the Dark Clan. If I kill him, it can be considered as cleaning up the clan. I hope you can agree. Hidden Flower was actually a little afraid of Ling Xiao because she was almost killed by Ling Xiao on the 5th level of the ghost prison. Ling Xiao had already become an inner demon that restricted her from continuing to improve. If this inner demon was not removed, she would never have a day of peace. Moreover, according to the elder, Ling Xiao's instantaneous burst of power could only be used once. As long as she avoided it, there would be no danger. Chapter 2499. Forget it. Since Elder Hidden Flower wants to clean up the clan, I should step aside. Sha Tongtian nodded and stepped aside. He only wanted Ling Xiao dead, so it was more reasonable for the Dark Ones to do it. Hidden Flower nodded and walked toward Ling Xiao. Kid, when I saw you fall into the demon sea, I thought I'd never be able to wash away the hatred in my heart. That day, you used a trick to hurt me. Today, I'm going to clean up the clan and wash you away from the dark race. Hidden Flower's cultivation was much higher than Saren's. Saren was only at the peak of the 4th level of hell, while Hidden Flower was at the peak of the 5th level of hell. The gap was too big. Therefore, if she wanted to kill Ling Xiao, there should be no suspense at all. Ling Jiaojiao, Lin Ruoxian, Ling Yuhua, and the others were worried again. Clean up the clan? Ha ha ha! If Lin Yuetian hadn't arrived that day, you old dog would have died under my sword. You say I ambushed you? You're just trying to find a dignified excuse for yourself. Ling Xiao laughed loudly. This made everyone very surprised. Facing Saren was one thing, but facing an elder of the dark race, he could still be so calm. What exactly was this kid relying on? Nonsense. You're going to die today. Although Hidden Flower was furious, she forced herself to remain calm. She knew that Ling Xiao's words were to shake her fighting spirit. Die. What are you going to use against me? Last time, your strongest move didn't do anything to me. Ling Xiao said lightly, Ignorant brat. Last time, I merely underestimated my opponent. Do you want to see my strongest move? I'll let you see it this time. You won't lose out if you die under this move. Hidden Flower snorted, and a huge black demon flower bloomed behind her. A long sword appeared in her hand. Above the long sword, black energy was continuously condensing. That's a top-tier jade martial technique. A cry of surprise came from the crowd. I've long heard that the 8 great clans of the 8 Immortal Mountain not only possess 8 great treasures, they can also comprehend jade grade martial skills. Furthermore, every clan had a high-grade jade grade martial skill that had been passed down to this day. Today, it seems that what he said was true. Although Hidden Flower's high-grade jade grade martial skill was inferior in the 8 Immortals Mountain, other than the top-grade jade grade martial skills comprehended by the 8 great magic treasures, nothing else could compare to it. In many people's eyes, using it to kill Ling Xiao was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. In the entire 8 Immortals County, there were very few people who could successfully cultivate and use a top-tier jade grade martial skill. Hidden Flower was really determined to get rid of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao smiled and waved his hand. An ordinary mortal grade spirit weapon appeared in his hand. To deal with you, I naturally have to use a weapon. Ling Xiao transformed into his black-striped flying tiger as soon as he retrieved his sword. He naturally couldn't deal with Hidden Flower like he did with Saren. He had to be more cautious. Don't you have a divine grade spirit weapon? Why don't you use it? Hidden Flower asked. I don't need it to deal with you. Ling Xiao replied indifferently. Indeed, the Black Immortal Sword was so precious. How could Ling Xiao use it so easily? Hidden Flower was considered at the bottom of the first revolution, 5th level of hell. If the peak of the 5th level to the early 6th level was divided into 10 steps, Hidden Flower was only at the first step. If he had to use the Black Immortal Sword to deal with her, then Ling Xiao would be too cowardly. Killing Hidden Flower too quickly was meaningless to him. Only in difficult battles could he hone his martial skills and strengthen his cultivation. Die, evil creature! Hidden Flower suddenly roared. The demonic flower behind him suddenly bloomed and turned into black shadows that merged into the sword in his hand. Then the long sword turned into hundreds of terrifying black sword chi. At that moment, Hidden Flower looked at Ling Xiao with eyes full of confidence and disdain. It was as if the shadow of the past had completely disappeared. In front of him, Ling Xiao was just a corpse that couldn't move. Dark Shadow Strike. With a furious roar, the power accumulated in the sword completely exploded. Hundreds of black sword chi merged into one and was incomparably huge. It had already locked onto Ling Xiao. The air seemed to be split apart by this sword chi, forming strange waves. The surrounding ground began to explode. If Ling Xiao hadn't prepared beforehand and provided Lin Ruoxian, Ling Jiaojiao, and Ling Yuhua with defensive arrays, they would have been in trouble. Crack! Space seemed to be torn apart. Countless people trembled in fear. In the entire Sword Tribe's courtyard, there were no more than 10 people who were confident that they could block such a powerful attack. Most people couldn't and didn't dare to block it. Jian Kuin, Shatong Tian, Jian Lufeng, Jian Feiyu, Qilian, and the others all revealed cold smiles. This was because they believed that Ling Xiao would definitely die this time. Ling Jiaojiao, Lin Ruoxian, Ling Yuhua, and the others watched this scene nervously. Their hearts were in their throats. Although Ling Xiao was so confident, they really didn't know how Ling Xiao could block Hidden Flower's terrifying attack with his strength. Indeed, Ling Xiao hadn't revealed his full cultivation. He had used the peak of the 4th level of the Yin-Yang realm to kill Saren. In fact, his cultivation had already broken through to the 5th level of the hell. Therefore, some people were worried and some people thought that he would definitely die. This was normal. The current 8 Immortal Mountain is really shameless. They actually want to use attrition warfare. Hidden Flower, do you still recognize me? Just as Ling Xiao was about to reveal his cultivation and fight with Hidden Flower to intimidate everyone present, Ling Xiao's expression changed. Ling Yin couldn't help but jump out. Firstly, he was worried about Ling Xiao's safety. After all, Hidden Flower's cultivation was too strong. Secondly, He hated Hidden Flower to the core. This was because Hidden Flower was one of the first people to betray him. This woman had once killed his proudest disciple. Today he would take revenge. Hearing Ling Yan's voice, Ling Xiao stopped transforming and put away his long sword. It was time for Ling Yan to appear. Now that the 8 Immortal Mountain was in chaos, Ling Yan's appearance could set things right and disperse the evil aura. Hidden Flower didn't even see who it was. He only saw a figure flying over from the sky. Then the person grabbed his neck. Who is it? Even the patriarchs present didn't dare to be careless with someone who could instantly subdue Hidden Flower. Ling Yan. Those who regarded Ling Yan as a traitor called him by his name. Former sect master. Those who still respected Ling Yan and still respected Ling Yan called him by his name. But without exception, everyone was dumbfounded. Former sect master Ling Yan. This was a topic that couldn't be casually mentioned in the 8 Immortal Mountain. Even his name couldn't be casually mentioned. Many people had only heard that Ling Yan had betrayed the 8 Immortal Mountain and seen the faces of the people on the wanted list, but they had never seen Ling Yan in person. Chapter 2500. Ling Yan stood there with one hand holding Hidden Flower and the other behind his back. He coldly looked down at everyone below the stage. That insufferably arrogant aura was somewhat similar to Ling Xiao's. Ling Yan, I haven't had my fill yet. Why did you make a move already? Ling Xiao didn't seem to notice their stunned expressions and asked with a smile. Boss, I'm not doubting your strength. It's just that Hidden Flower is my greatest enemy. If I can't kill him with my own hands, I won't be able to quell my anger. Moreover, why do I need you to deal with these rascals? He was actually a little worried about Ling Xiao, but he didn't say it out loud. After all, his boss was a very prideful person. Ling Yan, let go of my sister. An Yexing stood up and roared. At the same time, he rushed toward Ling Yan. At the same time, Jian Kuan didn't stay idle either. He also charged over. Jian Lufeng and Jian Feiyu were on the stage, so they naturally helped. These 4 first transition, 5th level experts all knew what Ling Yan meant. This was a fat piece of meat that was even bigger than Ling Xiao's. It was said that this person knew the secret of the 8 Immortals' inheritance. As long as they could capture him alive, they might be able to control the 8 Immortals' mountain. Save me, big brother. Hidden Flower was held in Ling Yan's hand and was as weak as a little chick. She screamed for help in terror. She screamed for help, but because her neck was being choked, she couldn't make any sound. Hidden Flower, don't worry. Since Ling Yan dared to walk into the trap, he can forget about leaving alive today. As he spoke, An Yexing, Jian Kuan, Jian Lufeng, and Jian Feiyu executed their moves at the same time. They wanted to attack Ling Yan together. However, Ling Yan didn't seem to see it. It was as if he was reminiscing about the past. In the past, I, Ling Yan, treated you guys well. Especially you, Hidden Flower. I treated you like my own sister and gave you excellent martial arts. If anyone bullied you, I helped you resolve it. I even turned you from a worthless disciple of the 8 Immortals' Mountain into a senior elder of the Dark Tribe. And you? How did you treat me? Not only did he poison my food, he even cruelly killed my disciple in front of me. Disciple! Master has avenged you today. He wanted to kill Hidden Flower, but he also wanted to let Hidden Flower know why he died. After explaining the reason, Zhang Xian tightened his grip. Hidden Flower's neck was tilted to the side, and he was no longer breathing. At the same time, the attacks of the 4 people arrived. Ling Yan only casually waved his hand, and the 4 people were sent flying at almost the same time. Every one of them had dark red ribbons hanging from their mouths. Battered and exhausted, he fell to the ground, unable to get up. All 4 of them were seriously injured. How could this be? When he was rescued by Ling Xiao, his cultivation level was only at the peak of the 3rd level of the Yin Yang realm. How could he be so powerful now? This is the power of the 6th level of hell. Falling to the ground, Anya Xing, Jian Kuan, Jian Feiyu, and Jian Lufeng were all terrified. If Ling Yan really reached the cultivation level that they guessed, then he would undoubtedly become a top expert in the entire 8 Immortals County. He would be invincible. Anya Xing no longer dared to talk about revenge. He lay on the ground like a pitiful dog. The other 3 people were also in a state of panic, their bodies trembling. They were powerless against this cultivation level. Even if there were 100 more martial artists like them, it would be useless. Unless they used a formation to trap Ling Yan, no matter how many people they had, they would not be able to defeat him. Ling Yan was back. This in itself was shocking. Ling Yan appeared in the form of a top expert. This made some people with ulterior motives even more anxious and restless. They whispered in fear and did not dare to talk about anything that would offend Ling Xiao. This was because they had heard Ling Yan call Ling Xiao boss. What did this mean? No wonder Ling Xiao dared to appear here and kill Saren. With the help of a top expert like Ling Yan, who would he be afraid of? Despair. This time, it was the Sword Tribe's turn to feel despair. They had treated Ling Xiao and Ling Yan as traitors and wanted them. Now that the 2 of them had returned, they had become extremely powerful. Ling Xiao was still all right, but with Ling Yan's current strength, no one present was his match. Suddenly, 8 extremely powerful auras came from the horizon. This gave Jian Kuan and the rest, who had almost given up hope, a new hope. Tribe Elders, the 7 Tribe Elders and the young Sect Master are here. Someone exclaimed in joy. It was no wonder. With Ling Yan's appearance, they naturally had to appear. Otherwise, the position that they had stolen from Ling Yan would really be gone. Among the 7 Tribe Elders, only the Yu Tribe's Tribe Elder was absent. However, with the young Sect Master Lin Yuetian, these 8 people's strength had all reached the 6th level of hell. It was just that some were stronger and some were weaker. Among them, the 4 Tribe Elders had reached the peak cultivation level. The other 3 Tribe Elders were at the middle stage. As for Lin Yuetian, he was at the late stage. However, no matter what, they were the top experts in the 8 Immortal City. With their arrival, Ling Zhao's enemies no longer feared them. When Lin Yuetian and the rest appeared, the first thing they saw was Ling Xiao and Ling Yan, who were still alive. This made them extremely shocked. This was because Lin Yuetian and the Dark Tribe's Tribe Elder and Feng Yin had personally witnessed the 2 of them falling into the Demon Sea. Now, the 2 of them had actually returned alive, and they seemed to be even more powerful than before. What was going on? Originally, they would not have appeared together. After all, there was only one Ling Xiao. They did not really care. They thought that the people present were enough to kill Ling Xiao. However, the problem was that Ling Yan had appeared again. His cultivation level was so strong that he could easily defeat Jian Kuan and Yexing, Jian Lufeng, and Jian Feiyu. He had even killed Feng Yin with his own hands. Ling Yan, you betrayed the 8 Immortal Mountain and betrayed the sect. Now you dare to come back. Why don't you surrender when you see us? Lin Yuetian pointed at Ling Yan's nose and shouted. Ling Yan laughed coldly. I betrayed the 8 Immortals Mountain? What a joke! If not for me, the 8 Immortals Mountain would have been swallowed by the Heavenly Wind Group. Today would not have happened. Because of my benevolence and forbearance, you secretly harmed me and even pushed the bucket of shit onto my head. Today I am back for revenge. The Ling Yan of the past is no longer here. The current Ling Yan has returned from the Yellow Springs. He will not show any mercy. Don't think that I don't know that you are colluding with the dragon cult. Lin Quan, who is sitting on the sect leader's seat, is a disciple of the dragon cult. Although the 8 Immortals Mountain is not as powerful as the dragon cult, at least we don't have to sacrifice the lives of our disciples to satisfy the cultivation of those demons. However, after I reincarnated, many disciples of the 8 Immortals Mountain went missing. Don't you understand? Where did they go? What happened to them? How can you continue to act dumb? What a load of nonsense. Do you think that this nonsense of yours will be accepted and accepted by others? Ridiculous. Chapter 25:01. Kill. Lin Yuetian did not want to hear Ling Yan's nonsense. With the 8 of them attacking together, no matter how strong Ling Yan was, he would not be able to defeat them. Since their young master had spoken, the other 7 naturally did not dare to disobey. Otherwise, they would end up like the Yu clan. Buzz! Just as the 8 of them attacked together, a strong gust of wind formed on the spot. The gust of wind was so strong that it blew the 8 of them away. They fell to the ground, each of them covered in blood. They were battered and exhausted. A devastatingly beautiful woman with peerless elegance arrived. She landed beside Ling Xiao and bowed to Ling Xiao. Master, the matter has been settled. The Yu clan people have been released by Xindian. Very good. Ling Xiao nodded slightly. He was very satisfied. He and Ling Yan had arrived here first. He had arranged for Xindian to save the Yu clan people. Xindian had already formed a physical body. Although she had not fully recovered her strength, she did not need to hide anymore. She could walk freely like a normal person. Everyone's eyes were fixed on this strange scene. A beautiful woman who was so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end actually called Ling Xiao Master after easily defeating the 8-level 1/6 transformation experts. What the hell was going on? The 8 of them also looked at Xindian. They were shocked to find that they could not see through Xindian's cultivation level even with their eyesight. It was as if the person standing in front of them was not a person, but a huge red sun. That light could melt them all. How is this possible? The hearts of the 8 great masters were as cold as the 9 nether cold springs. This woman was too powerful. She was so powerful that they could not help but look up to her. In front of this woman, they were just pitiful children. Ling Xiao only fell into the demon sea. How could he bring back such a terrifying expert? They could not understand. They could not understand. Could this be the expert behind Ling Xiao? The sword tribe elder could not help but ask. Impossible. Although that person is powerful, he is at most on par with this old man. But this person before us is simply too terrifying. And Feng Yin shook his head. He didn't believe it was the same person. They were whispering here. But those who were waiting for them to deal with Ling Yan were completely dumbfounded. If the 8 of them joined forces, even the Heavenly Wind group would not dare to fight them head-on. It could be said that they were invincible in the 8 Immortals County. But now, a young lady who looked like she was only 14 or 15 years old had easily sent them flying. Was this really not a dream? If this was a dream, they really wanted to wake up as soon as possible. But then, an even stranger scene appeared. With Lin Yuetian as the leader, the 8 masters crawled up from the ground and knelt down. Senior, please forgive us for not going out to meet you. If my 8 Immortal Mountain has offended you, please forgive us. Whatever you want, we won't hesitate. Lin Yuetian and the 7 tribe elders were now thinking of how to appease this lady. In their opinion, the reason why this lady called Ling Xiao Master was probably because Ling Xiao had used some sweet words to coax her. After all, this lady did not look old. What was going on? Was this really not a dream? Seeing the 8 masters kneeling down and begging for mercy, everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This scene was simply unimaginable. After the shock, everyone thought about it again. Such a powerful lady actually called Ling Xiao Master. Didn't this mean that Ling Xiao could do whatever he wanted in the 8 Immortals Mountain? Whoever he wanted to kill would die. Whoever he wanted to kill would die. Whoever he wanted to kill would die. This was too heaven-defying. This was simply cheating. Many people began to worry about their own fate. The first to bear the brunt were in Feng Yin, Lin Yuetian, Jian Kuin, Jian Lufeng, Jian Feiyu, and in Yeshing. With Ling Xiao's personality, there was no way he would let this matter rest. Since he had returned, it was for revenge. They began to tremble with fear. Some were so nervous that they lost control of their bowels. That kind of embarrassing situation was truly laughable. Senior, this man is a traitor of the Eight Immortals Mountain. He used flowery words to get you to do something for him. This is simply the ambition of a wolf. As long as you are willing to become the guardian of the Eight Immortals Mountain, we will give you the best treatment. The Sword Tribe elder suddenly gritted his teeth and looked at Xin Dian. He was taking a gamble. This was because he did not believe that the lady who was so powerful would really submit to Ling Xiao. However, since it was a gamble, there would be times when one was wrong. And this time he was ridiculously wrong. The moment he finished speaking, his head flew out of his body. The lady merely waved her hand. No one knew what kind of divine ability she had used, but no one could see it. Not even Ling Xiao. When everyone realized that the Sword Tribe elder had died on the spot, someone exclaimed in shock. It was too terrifying, killing a tribe elder in one move. This kind of expert was definitely not someone the Eight Immortals Mountain could provoke. Now, everyone was trembling in fear and panic. It was as if they were waiting for some kind of judgment. How dare you look down on my master? You are courting death. The lady clapped her hands and said coldly as if she had just killed an ant. All right, Shen Dian, just scare them a little. Lin Quan, since you are already here, come out. Otherwise, I will kill everyone here. Ling Xiao suddenly looked outside the courtyard. There, a figure slowly landed in the courtyard. He sighed softly and cupped his hands at Ling Yan, Ling Xiao, and Xin Dian. If you have any orders, I will definitely do it. However, the Eight Immortals Mountain is a sect under the protection of the Chun Kingdom's royal family. If you really want to destroy the Eight Immortals Mountain, you must be careful. Slap. What answered him was a resounding slap. It is not your turn to speak here. You only need to do as I say. Ling Xiao looked at Lin Quan and said coldly, Yes, I will do as you say. Lin Quan narrowed his eyes and lowered his head. It could be seen that this guy was very tolerant. No matter how others forced him, he would not get angry. Or rather, even if he was angry, he would only hold it in and not vent it. Tell me your true identity. Don't lie. Otherwise, I have a good temper, but the lady beside me has a bad temper. Ling Xiao said coldly. Lin Quan trembled slightly. He knew that once he revealed his true identity, he could forget about staying in the Eight Immortals Mountain in the future. However, if he did not say it, he would die now. He let out a long sigh and said, I, Lin Quan, belong to the dragon cult. Ah! Exclamations sounded at the scene. Many people thought that Ling Xiao's previous words were really nonsense. However, it seemed that was not the case. Lin Quan had already admitted it. Chapter 2502. All right, it's fine as long as you admit it. Tell me about how you plotted against Ling Yan's former sect master. Ling Xiao continued to pressure him. Back then, I betrayed the dragon cult. The former sect master took me in and let me join the Eight Immortal Mountain. He groomed me to become an elder of the Eight Immortal Mountain. However, I repaid his kindness with enmity. I secretly plotted against him and forced him to enter the reincarnation cycle in advance. After that, I found his reincarnated body and tried to steal the secret of the Eight Immortal Ancestors' inheritance. I deserved to die 10,000 times. Lin Quan told him everything in detail. In this way, Ling Yan's injustice was cleared. Ling Xiao began to take revenge for himself. He walked to Mo Feiyu's side. No, he should be called Jian Feiyu now. This person is a thief. He killed the disciples who participated in the entrance exam and destroyed the reputation of the Eight Immortal Mountain. He deserves to die 10,000 times. After saying that, he suddenly attacked and killed Jian Feiyu with a sword. The grudge between him and Jian Feiyu was completely settled after the sword. It was ridiculous that Jian Feiyu betrayed the Moon Clan and joined the Sword Clan in order to better take revenge on Ling Xiao. In the end, he died in front of Ling Xiao. Then, Ling Xiao walked in front of Jian Lufeng. Just as he was about to speak, his expression suddenly changed. A strange scene appeared on the horizon. A golden light was shooting toward them at high speed. This golden light turned into a golden dragon and landed on the ground. It turned out to be dozens of martial artists wearing golden armor. The leader was wearing a golden armor with a golden dragon circling around him. He looked very mighty. The strength of these people made everyone present, except for Shandian, so nervous that they couldn't breathe. "Greetings, eldest miss." After this group of people arrived, they all knelt in front of Shindian and called her eldest Mississippi. Shindian's expression suddenly changed, but a moment later it returned to normal. "So it's the Golden Knights. I still have some things to deal with here. I'll entertain you after I'm done." Shindian said lightly, "Eldest miss, something happened to the Lord." The leader of the Golden Knights suddenly said, What happened to father?" Shindian exclaimed, seeing the expression on the godly grimoire's face. Ling Xiao knew that today's revenge could only come to an abrupt end. He wanted revenge, and the divine grimoire was indispensable. Without the divine grimoire, it was impossible for him to defeat that old dog Lin Quan. Not to mention, the 8 Immortals Mountain was backed by the Qun Kingdom's royal family. "Shandian, let's deal with your problem first." Ling Xiao coldly glanced at Jian Lufeng. It would be more fun to kill these people himself. Relying on the divine grimoire didn't feel too good. In any case, now that his cultivation had greatly improved, he was no longer afraid of these people. "Thank you, master." Shandian nodded emotionally. "Let's go. Let's talk in my courtyard. It's quieter there." Ling Xiao waved his hand, and Lin Yang and the others walked out of the crowd. They led Ling Jiaojiao, Lin Ruoxian, Ling Yuhua, and the others out of the Sword Tribe's courtyard. Seeing Ling Xiao leave, no one thought of stopping him. Everyone was eager for such a fiend to leave. Now that Ling Xiao had the protection of the girl called Shindian, who could touch him? Who dared to touch him? No one knew where the girl came from. Those Golden Knights were all so powerful that it was terrifying. Who knew what would happen after offending such a force? Thinking of this, everyone felt their hearts tremble with fear. Being slapped in the face was considered light. They were already very lucky to be able to keep their lives. The moment Ling Xiao left, Jian Lufeng collapsed to the ground. At that moment, he really felt that he was going to die. When his mood gradually calmed down, his eyes were filled with intense hatred. Ling Xiao, I don't care what force is behind you. I must kill you. Kill you." In Jian Liufeng's opinion, Ling Xiao was just relying on Ling Yan and Shandian as his backing. He wasn't strong himself. As long as he was willing, he had enough strength to kill Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao left, but in the sword race's courtyard, dark clouds still covered it. No one dared to leave. Everyone was waiting there, waiting for fate's verdict, because they were afraid that if they left, they would offend that terrifying Ling Xiao. In the end, no one would be able to survive. Returning to Ling Xiao's courtyard, Shandian had a secret talk with those Golden Knights. Finally, she walked out gloomily. "Lass, don't have to pull a long face. You have to smile. Since you have matters at home, go back first. It's a pity that my strength is too weak. Otherwise, I'd definitely go and help you." Without waiting for Shandian to speak, Ling Xiao already guessed Shindian's meaning. "But I can't bear to part with master. How about master leave with me?" Shindian said reluctantly. "I want to, but I can't hide under your pomegranate skirt for the rest of my life." Ling Xiao shook his head and said, "A place that's too scary is not suitable for me to improve. It's better for me to move forward step by step like this. If it was just an ant, there might be hope for it to deal with a locust that was bigger than it. But if it had to fight against a human, the result was very likely to be trampled to death." So although Ling Xiao wanted to leave with Shendian as soon as possible, he held back. Although the Black Tortoise continent is big, it still has its limits. "We'll meet again one day." Ling Xiao smiled and said, "Also, don't call me master in front of those people in the future. Otherwise, I'll be killed by you." In fact, he had already keenly noticed the hostility of the leader of the Golden Knights. It was because Shandian called him master. He wasn't the kind of person who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. For people like the 8 Immortal Mountain, although they were stronger than him, he still had a chance to escape, so he wasn't afraid. But for people like these Golden Knights, he couldn't even escape. Naturally, he didn't want to offend them. If he dares to touch you, I'll kill him, Shan Dian said very seriously. But Master, I'll listen to you. I won't call you Master in the future. Can I call you Brother Ling Xiao? Okay, that's better. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and shook his head. By the way, I have a request. Can you take my sister Ling Jiaojiao with you? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. Ling Jiaojiao, staying in the 8 Immortal Mountain, was always troublesome. The bloodline of the Sword and Saber Divine Emperor would always be coveted here. And Ling Jiaojiao's bloodline awakened too late. Her strength increased too slowly. It was impossible for her to protect herself. With Shan Dian, even if she couldn't become stronger, at least she shouldn't be in danger. That depends on whether she's willing or not. In fact, with her bloodline, she'll definitely be welcomed by us. I believe that it won't be long before she can enter the cycle of reincarnation. Shen Dian looked at Ling Jiaojiao and asked for her opinion. I'm willing. Ling Jiaojiao actually wanted to make this request herself. She didn't want to keep causing trouble for Ling Xiao. The best choice was naturally to leave. Chapter 2503. All right, since your sister is willing, then leave with me. Big brother Ling Xiao, don't worry. As long as I, Xindian, am alive, nothing will happen to Sister Jiaojiao. Xindian looked at Ling Xiao seriously. I'm relieved with your promise. Ling Xiao nodded, then looked at Ling Yuhua and said, Old Master, are you willing to let her go? Of course. Ling Yuhua actually nodded his head resolutely. The weak can only be bullied by others and can only be slaughtered by others. If it weren't for your return and Miss Xin Diane's help, I'm afraid that Jiao Jiao and I wouldn't even have the ability to perish together. Jiao Jiao's life would be completely ruined. I hope that she can become stronger. Since Miss Shandian said that Jiao Jiao, who has the Saber Sword Divine Emperor martial spirit, can be valued by their family, then I'd rather believe it. The current Ling Yuhua didn't lose his rationality, but he had become more affectionate and righteous. Ling Xiao welcomed such a Ling Yuhua. Young miss, we should leave. The Gold Knights who were waiting there were already impatient, but they still spoke very politely. All right, Huang Jinrufeng, if you continue to urge me, I won't go back. Of course. Shen Dian said this out of anger. Her father was in trouble, so she could not go back. After speaking, she looked at Ling Xiao and said, Big brother Ling Xiao, I have to go back. My father is in trouble, so I can't not go back. But big brother Ling Xiao, you must remember me. I'll come back to find you. No need, I'll go find you. Ling Xiao looked at Shen Dian and said with a smile, You should at least tell me where you are, right? Shen Dian nodded and said, Big brother Ling Xiao, if you really want to find me, then you have to step out of the Black Tortoise Continent's weakest western region. Then, you have to find a place called Golden Heavenly Kingdom. When you get there, you just have to ask the Golden Clan, and you'll find me. Golden Heavenly Kingdom. Ling Xiao was shocked. The western region of the Black Tortoise Continent was the weakest place. If that was the case, then the Mystic Snake Devil sect and the other sects were not even worth mentioning. Wasn't this a little too exaggerated? But since it was said by the Divine Grimoire, it should not be wrong. Golden Heavenly Kingdom. I will definitely go. Ling Xiao gritted his teeth. By the way, big brother Ling Xiao, this is for you. This is the secret sword that I wear. Although it's not as powerful as the previous one, it can transform into my human form. On one hand, it can prevent big brother Ling Xiao from forgetting about me. On the other hand, it can also scare the people from the 8 Immortals Mountain. I know that big brother Ling Xiao will definitely return to the 8 Immortals Mountain. Otherwise, you won't be able to participate in the Ox Deity's maze battle. You won't even have the chance to go to the Arcana Academy in the capital of the Qin Kingdom. Although Shen Dian was young, he was very smart. He actually saw through Ling Zhao's thoughts. That's right, The reason why Ling Xiao didn't really start a massacre, in addition to the sudden departure of the divine grimoire, was that he wanted to use the 8 Immortals mountain to climb up. He wanted this sect to become his stepping stone. Thank you. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and said. Xindian was so considerate of him. He didn't treat Xindian so well in the past in vain. I'm leaving, big brother Ling Xiao. Xindian's eyes were already filled with tears. She didn't even want to look at Ling Xiao anymore and turned her head away, because she was afraid that her heart would soften and not want to leave. Ling Jiaojiao also didn't plan to return to Yuhua town. As the saying goes, seeing things reminds one of one's feelings. If she went back, she would only be more reluctant to part. Rather than that, it was better not to go back. It wouldn't be too late to come back when she was stronger in the future. Ling Xiao, when big sister becomes stronger in the future, I will definitely come back to protect you. I can't always let you protect me. Ling Jiaojiao wiped her tears and said with a smile, Then, big sister Jiaojiao, you will be disappointed, because I will always be stronger than you. Don't forget, your younger brother is the #1 genius of the profound world. Ling Xiao said with a smile, I'm afraid you can't escape my protection in this lifetime. Then let's compete. Ling Jiaojiao also turned her head, and tears flowed out uncontrollably. The 2 girls were almost running because they were afraid that they would stop because of the reluctance in their hearts. The Golden Knights had already prepared a huge carriage. The horse pulling the carriage was actually a Pegasus that was completely golden in color and had a pair of golden wings. The carriage left Ling Zhao's courtyard under the escort of the Golden Knights. However, the leader of the Golden Knights, Huang Jinrufeng, didn't leave. He looked coldly at Ling Xiao and said arrogantly, Brat, I should have killed you for daring to let Big Miss call you master. But seeing that you saved Big Miss, I won't kill you. However, there are some things that I have to make clear to you. With your aptitude, I'm afraid you won't be able to reach the golden heavenly country, even if you die. So in this life, don't think about Big Miss anymore. It's useless. It's not that I look down on you, but you are too weak. Let alone going to the golden heavenly country, you might not even be able to walk out of the Qin state. And in the western region, there are many countries that are stronger than the Qin state. Tens of thousands. If you can step out of the Qin state and make a name for yourself in the western region, I'm already thinking too highly of you. Huang Jinrufeng's words were cruel. They were also very realistic. He was telling Ling Xiao the truth about how difficult it was to reach the golden, heavenly country. Ling Xiao lowered his head as if he was thinking about Huang Jinrufeng's words. Facing Huang Jinrufeng, his past advantages were all gone, because even if he cultivated to the rebirth state, he would only have a place in the western region. So he wanted to think carefully. However, in Huang Jinrufeng's eyes, he was yielding. Huang Jinrufeng was very satisfied. He took out a set of golden armor from his storage ring and said, I, Huang Jinrufeng, am very clear about gratitude and grudges. You saved Big Miss and helped her so much. I'll give this armor to you. It can help you block 3 attacks from Yin-Yang realm experts in the 6th level of hell every day. Remember, only 3 times. Make good use of it. With it, you will definitely be safe in the 8 Immortals County. So I suggest that you stay here forever, marry a virtuous woman, be an ordinary person, and live happily for the rest of your life. Many people say that one can climb to the top of the world as long as they work hard, regardless of their background. But let me tell you, there are only a few people who can do such a thing, even in the history of more than 100,000 years. You don't have the qualifications or the ability. Instead of risking your life and dying outside, it's better to live a normal life. Ha! Ling Xiao suddenly laughed. What are you laughing at? Huang Jinrufeng asked, puzzled. I'm just laughing. Isn't it funny to say that others can't do what you can't do? It's not up to you to judge whether I have the qualifications or ability.